Curabane is a bitchless student who's never felt the touch of a girl in his life. At the Magic Academy, he's seen as weak, and gets bullied by Makabe and the bully's friends. Izumiya is the student council president and the school's #1 student. When she notices Curabane getting mocked, she thinks about stepping in to help, but our boy won't be needing her help anymore, because mysteriously, Curabane stopped being a failure and became strong and ruthless. Now, everyone who tormented him for being weak is about to pay, and Izumiya will have to work hard not to lose her spot as #1, and perhaps, not fall for the loser. Our story begins with a battered Demon King preparing his most powerful spell to take down Leon Klein. Staring at his opponent in sheer terror, the monster bursts out laughing, screaming that this is the end, and fires a massive fireball straight at Leon, but Leon just stands there, calmly watching it approach. Leon casts an ice spell to deflect the attack and finish him off once and for all. As humanity's last hope, it's his duty to free the world from the tyranny of the Demon King, Belfar. Even while blocking the attack, Leon spots a weakness to counter, taking advantage of the disoriented Demon King, who has completely lost track of him. The mage stomps his foot and conjures a wall of sharp ice spikes right beneath the fireball. Too focused on attacking, Belfar fails to track Leon's movements and leaves his defenses wide open. The Demon King is impaled by dozens of icy spears, giving his executioner one last glare before he dies. Belfar screams in rage that this isn't over before dissolving completely. Leon can barely believe he actually won, but he breathes a sigh of relief, knowing the threat is finally gone. With Demon King Belfar defeated by Leon's hands, peace returns to the world. A few days later, at the Tenuri orphanage where the mage grew up, a carriage is packed and ready for his departure. Leon's destination is the royal castle. While he's talking to the driver, a little girl clutching a teddy bear runs up to him, calling his name and asking where he's going. Kneeling down, Leon explains that he's been called away on an urgent mission, asking his little sister to be a good girl and wait for him. He pats her head, promising to teach her magic when he gets back. A few hours later, Leon enters the royal palace's throne room, where he is welcomed by the king and Prince Shark. Kneeling before them, the mage greets his majesty and notes that it's been a long time since they last met. Suddenly, a familiar female voice calls out. Turning around, Leon sees Princess Sarah standing there. He kisses her hand, and the king explains that he summoned her from a neighboring kingdom specifically for this meeting. The king mentions that as soon as Sarah heard Leon was coming to the castle, she rushed over as fast as she could. Leon asks his majesty why he was summoned. The king explains that according to Prince Shark, there's still a nearby cave where monsters keep spawning. Puzzled by this, Leon asks why monsters are still around if the Demon King has already been defeated. The sovereign explains that this is exactly why he needs Leon to investigate, pointing out reports that anyone who enters the cave never returns. The king emphasizes that Leon isn't like ordinary people, and even if he goes alone, he'll be fine. After all, he defeated the Demon King himself. Leon can't really argue with that. He feels responsible for protecting the hard-won peace, especially for the sake of the kids back at the orphanage. Bowing to the king, he respectfully accepts the request to investigate the cave. In exchange for the investigation, the king promised Leon he would consider his marriage to Princess Sarah, a topic they had recently discussed. Looking at the blushing princess beside him, Leon just chuckles awkwardly. The king hadn't changed a bit, but marrying a princess still felt completely unreal for a guy like him. But inside the throne room, one of the 4 people there clearly didn't agree with the king's decision. With a wave of his hand, the king asked Leon to stay at the castle for the night, adding that Prince Shark knew where the cave was and would lead him there the next morning. The next day, as Leon was loading supplies onto the carriage, Shark and his knights approached. The prince apologized for the delay, smiled, and shook Leon's hand, saying it would be a pleasure working together on the investigation. Leon shook his hand and greeted him back. A short while later, they arrived at the cave. Shark pointed to a crack in the rock, indicating the monsters were probably inside. Staring into the darkness, Leon suggested they proceed with caution. The place looked strange, with massive roots growing everywhere, forming a maze of tunnels. As he looked around, Leon felt a weird vibe, and wondered if the aura of this place was the reason people were disappearing. He turned to warn Shark, but the prince snuck up behind him and ran a sword clean through Leon's chest. The wound wasn't immediately fatal, but Leon fell to his knees, unable to move, realizing the blade was poisoned. Turning around, he saw Shark coldly wiping the blood off his sword. Leon demanded to know why he was doing this, and the prince contemptuously told him that this was his execution ground. Shark claimed that Leon was in his way by getting too close to Princess Sarah, taking up the spot that rightfully belonged to him. Furious, Leon yelled that this was crazy, and that he had no interest in political power. He was just doing his best for the kids at the orphanage. The prince covered his face and laughed out loud, his voice echoing through the cave. Then, he revealed that the kids were already dead, and threw something at Leon's face. Leon stared in confusion at the torn piece of a teddy bear that belonged to his little sister. Shark then explained that he had burned the orphanage to the ground with everyone inside the night before, and then casually stomped on the toy's head. The prince added that it would be a hassle if people started looking for the missing hero, and with a smirk, said they could now go to heaven together. Facing this horrific reality, rage and fear mixed in Leon's eyes. Before he could even scream, the prince kicked him hard in the chest. Still paralyzed by the poison, Leon fell helplessly into the abyss. Shark said a mocking goodbye, thanking the hero of justice for his service. As he plummeted into the endless dark, Leon's fury was so intense, he couldn't even utter a word. All he could do was accept his looming death. Moments later, he hit the bottom of the cave and a deadly silence filled the area. A long time passed before a drop of water fell on his face, waking him up. Leon gasped and opened his eyes, realizing he was still in the cave, sitting in a pool of water. He moved his arm, confirming that somehow he had survived the fall. Instantly, memories of Prince Shark's betrayal flooded his mind. Realizing that every word that bastard said was true, Leon slammed his fists against the ground in pure despair, screaming that he would never forgive him. He dragged himself out of the water, knowing he had to find a way out. The place was massive, and he had no idea which way to go. His thoughts were cut short when a strange violet light appeared in front of him. Right ahead, surrounded by an ominous aura, stood a monster that looked like a giant skeleton dog. It was an otherworldly creature, unlike anything Leon had ever faced, but with a single fireball launched straight at it, he managed to defeat it instantly. Leon walked over to the charred bones to figure out what the creature was. Just then, a system window popped up in front of his eyes, announcing that the secret quest of the Infinite Passage had been completed by the millionth player. Confused, he tried to touch the mysterious screen, but was cut off when another identical monster spawned right behind him. Not wanting to waste any time, Leon incinerated it with another fireball. When he looked back at the system window, he noticed the count had changed to 2. He realized that the more monsters he defeated, the higher the counter went. Even so, his main priority was still finding a way out. Wandering through the cave, Leon stumbled upon a water source filled with the skeletons and armor of past adventurers. He realized these were the people the king said had gone missing after entering the cave. Kneeling before the dead, he grew furious and swore he wouldn't end up like them. From that day on, Leon spent his time exploring and fighting. A whole year passed, and he still hadn't found the exit. The only thing keeping him sane through all the constant fighting was his desire for revenge against Shark. Every time he hit a milestone for defeating monsters, he learned a new magic spell. When he hit the 100,000 mark, he unlocked dark magic. At first, he hesitated to use it because he didn't know what the consequences would be, but he eventually realized this was the exact power he needed to get his revenge. Finally, 10 years had passed since his fall. Leon had claimed every possible reward for defeating monsters and completed the secret mission, having slaughtered 1 million enemies just to stay alive. Once the mission was complete, a mysterious voice started speaking to him, telling him to defeat someone. Right as the voice made this demand, sunlight broke through in front of him. Shielding his eyes, Leon saw a massive, glowing golden gate. With no other choice, he stepped forward to go through the doors and see what was waiting on the other side. Leon woke up to find himself lying face down in some water. Opening his eyes, he struggled to his feet and caught his reflection, seeing the face of a man he didn't even recognize. Stunned, he quickly spun around, trying to figure out where he was. The buildings around him made no sense and looked nothing like his original world, leaving him completely confused. As he tried to get his bearings, a voice nearby called him Kurbin, sounding surprised that he was still conscious. A red-haired man commented that he was tough and made a pretty good punching bag. Leon looked at the men in confusion and asked if they were talking to him. Annoyed, a big burly guy told him to shut up and stop talking crazy. The brute walked over, grabbed Leon by the head, and started drowning him, while the redhead told him to wake up for real. With no idea what they wanted, Leon decided to defend himself. He spread his arms and activated his water magic, casting a spell called Flood Scourge. Massive pillars of water shot up from the fountain, blasting the big guy several yards away. The redhead was also knocked off his feet, rolling across the ground. When the brute got back up, he saw Leon standing tall and confident, a far cry from the kid who used to just take their beatings. The lackeys asked if he was okay, while Mikabe, still on the ground, stared at Leon in disbelief. Grumbling in frustration, the brute decided it was best not to mess with him anymore, and ordered his men to pull back. Leon just watched the strangers run off, trying to make sense of the situation. Just then, a mysterious voice floated toward him, gloomily pointing out that he had unleashed a ton of power, even with his magic suppressed. The violet flame noted it expected nothing less from Leon. Realizing the young man would have a lot of questions, the flame suddenly shot upward and suggested they talk somewhere else. Leon followed, trying to get it to stop. The flame finally stopped, saying everything would be fine now that they had made it here. The flying object flared with a light so bright that Leon had to cover his eyes. When the light faded, he saw a tiny blue-haired girl dressed like a mage, who ran over and threw herself into his arms. Thrilled, she said it was an honor to meet him, but Leon quickly grabbed her by the shoulders and pushed her back. Leon asked who she was and if she could explain what was going on. The girl apologized and introduced herself as Luna, a messenger of the goddess. Confused, he asked what kind of messenger she was. Luna explained she had simplified the title and that she was actually a conduit for the dead. Luna explained that Leon really had died when he was pushed off the cliff in the cave. She revealed that he was now in a different world, possessing the body of a local kid through the goddess's power. After taking in so much information, it took Leon a moment to calm down and process everything. Luna apologized for dumping it all on him at once, admitting it was a lot to take in. Leon smiled and said it was fine, since he had already sorted out his thoughts. He then wondered why his master had brought him to this world. Luna was about to answer when a bright green light suddenly flashed in front of them, revealing a massive green gate, the exact same size as the one Leon had stepped through to leave the dungeon. Reaching her hand out to Leon, Luna mentioned that the portal had appeared at the perfect time and would help answer his question. Mesmerized by the massive gate, he had no idea what was waiting for him on the other side, but he stepped forward and crossed through the passage once again. As soon as he stepped through the gates, Leon saw something he hadn't seen in over a decade. Standing right in front of him was the exact same creature he had fought before he even became a hero back on his home planet. There was no mistake about it. The monster rushing toward him was Granceros, an ancient servant of the demon king Belfar. Granceros was an unstoppable enemy, protected by an incredibly powerful magic barrier. 10 years ago, it took Leon over 3 days to defeat the beast in his original world. Now he had no choice but to face it all over again. Before the fight could even start, Luna told Leon to use his new magic, promising it would make this an easy win. Instantly catching on, he activated his dark magic attribute. At that exact moment, Granceros lunged forward, ready to crush him in its massive jaws. But as Leon let the dark mana flow through his veins, an intimidating aura flared up around him. Reaching all the way to the monster, he cast Blessing Rupture, and in a matter of seconds, the enemy's supposedly unbreakable barrier completely shattered. Leon could have never dreamed of having this kind of power in the past. Having lost its impenetrable defense, the monster tried to run away as fast as it could, but it didn't get far. It turned out stripping away blessings wasn't the only thing dark magic could do. With a single movement, Leon cast Claws of Death, piercing the beast's neck. Granceros collapsed dead at his feet. A battle against a creature that was once almost as powerful as the Demon King himself didn't even last 30 seconds. Luna cheered happily, congratulating him on the quick victory. Meanwhile, a shocked Leon just stared at his own hand, still wrapped in dark energy, unable to believe he possessed this much power. While the goddess's messenger kept celebrating, he just stood there for a moment, staring down at the corpse of Granceros. He then looked over at the excited girl and asked, with a look of pure annoyance, why she hadn't just told him about this power from the very beginning. Luna apologized, explaining that it was better for him to see firsthand how different this strength was, compared to what he used to have. With a deep sigh, Leon said he understood. If he had been transported here, it meant the Demon King Belfar was coming to this world too. Luna praised his sharp intuition, and explained that the portal they just went through had formed because of Belfar's influence. She warned him that this world was now in danger of being destroyed by the Demon King's monsters. With that, Leon finally understood why the goddess had given him a guide, and brought him to this place. Still, he wondered if Belfar was really the only reason he was summoned. Looking up, he noticed a barrier flickering nearby, bearing a very familiar emblem. It was the exact same symbol he had seen back in his original world, the tattoo on the palm of Shark's hand. Leon was instantly consumed by rage at the thought that he might have crossed over to this world too. Luna wanted to comfort him, but she suddenly spotted something that could ruin their future plans. Apologizing to Leon, the goddess's messenger quickly vanished to avoid causing him any trouble. A moment later, a suspicious female voice called out from behind, asking for a moment of his time. When Leon turned around, he stared in disbelief at the newcomer. The stranger walked up, greeted him, and asked if there was an open portal nearby. Luna, who seemed to be living inside Leon's head, immediately smelled trouble, and told him to play dumb. Taking her advice, he told the stranger he hadn't seen anything like that. The girl looked thoughtful, murmuring that it was weird because she could have sworn she felt a portal nearby. Looking closer at Leon's face, she suddenly recognized him and asked if he was the student who hung out with those delinquents. He tried to explain, but she just bowed and apologized. She explained that she had tried to stop them, but realized too late that there was nothing she could do. Smiling, Leon told her she had nothing to apologize for. He didn't even know who she was, but he instantly liked how honest and straightforward she was. After confirming one more time that he hadn't seen a portal, the girl said goodbye, mentioning she had to get back to the dorms. Once she was out of earshot, Luna popped up and praised the girl, saying it was amazing she could actually sense the portal. Luna added that Leon had just found the flag for that group, meaning their paths would definitely cross again soon. While the messenger rambled on excitedly, Leon just stared at her, completely lost. A little later, back at the student dorms, Leon reached his room only to find a bunch of sticky notes with insults plastered all over his door. He let out a heavy sigh as he stared at the hate mail, while other students watching from the hallway started whispering and laughing at him. Grabbing the doorknob, Leon immediately realized what kind of situation he was in, thinking to himself that the girl he met earlier must have been a rare exception. As soon as they were alone in his room, Luna took the form of a petite girl and started venting, asking what was wrong with those people and why they wrote such nasty things. Meanwhile, as Leon looked around his new room, he realized that Kurabane, the original owner of this body, must have had a really rough time. Sitting on his bed, he wondered what was up with this world school. He questioned why their crest looked exactly like the symbol on Shark's hand, and if the prince had also ended up in this world along with the Demon King. Unfortunately, Luna didn't have any answers. She didn't know much about this place and only showed up from time to guide him, having never seen the prince around. Thanking the messenger, Leon said he really wanted to get to the bottom of all this, but first, he needed to figure out how the academy worked. Even if he had to put the search for Shark on hold for now, he would never forget what his rival did to him. The next day, Leon decided it was time for a makeover and got a new haircut. Luna kept cheering him on and loved the new look, saying it made him look way more intimidating. As he put on his jacket, Leon realized that for the time being, he had to act exactly like the original Kurabini, even mimicking the way he talked. He grabbed his bag, left the dorms, and headed to school. Leon had to study hard to learn about this world, since he knew next to nothing about it. A few years ago, mysterious spaces called gates started appearing, and alongside them, people who could use magic. Dangerous monsters flooded out of these gates, and the warriors who defeated them could harvest valuable resources from inside. The number of hunters wanting in on this job grew every day, and the Holy Imperial Academy was the institution responsible for training them. While lost in thought, a sudden noise from outside caught Leon's attention. Looking out the window, he saw Makoto, the student council president. Just by the way she cast her spells, it was obvious she was incredibly skilled at magic. When the bell rang for recess, Leon left the classroom and headed toward the library to do some research, but a very familiar redhead blocked his path. Makabe smirked at Leon, deciding it was time to make him do some chores. The brute grabbed Leon by the shoulder and said he was really craving some bread today. Looking calmly into Makabe's face, Leon suggested that, in that case, he should probably go to the cafeteria and buy some. Makabe didn't expect him to talk back and lost his temper. He yelled, asking why Leon had been acting so cocky since yesterday. Still holding him tightly by the shoulder, the massive guy raised his right hand and began channeling a spell, promising to teach him a lesson right then and there. Izumiya Makoto noticed the commotion and tried to stop the bullies, reminding them that using magic on school grounds was strictly forbidden. But that didn't stop Makabe, who was already about to crush Leon with a stone hammer. Leon quietly whispered the name of his power, Grief, looking at the giant bully with pure contempt. Leon then activated his dark magic, opening a rift in space that completely absorbed the enemy's attack. This dark energy spell was called Sinister Devourer, and Makabe's stone hammer instantly vanished into the void. With a wave of his hand, Leon closed the rift and neutralized the attack. Both Makabe and the student council president stood there in utter shock. After apologizing to his classmates, Leon said he had to go. Izumiya could only stand frozen, staring after him. After class, Leon received a letter from Makabe. The bully was summoning him to the training grounds. When Luna saw the letter, she asked why he didn't just ignore it, but Leon was firm. He wanted to accept the challenge to clear any obstacles out of his way. Luna got excited about the idea of crushing the arrogant jerk, but Leon just gave her a look and told her to stay hidden. Later that evening at the outdoor training grounds, Makabe was surprised Leon actually showed up. The brute immediately demanded to know what had happened earlier that afternoon. When Leon didn't give him a straight answer, the bully challenged him to a one-on-one fight, claiming Leon needed to be taught a lesson. Leon agreed to the fight on one condition: if he won, Maccabi had to leave him alone forever. Clutching his face in anger, Maccabi screamed that he didn't understand what had gotten into Leon, pointing out that just yesterday, the kid was trembling in fear from a simple shove. Leon told him to stop talking and gestured for him to bring it on. Furious, Maccabi ordered his lackeys to attack. The two thugs prepared their spells and charged from both sides. They were closing in fast, but Leon just stood there, doing absolutely nothing. Laughing like a maniac, Maccabi shouted that the one-on-one thing was a lie. Leon calmly replied that he already knew that. He spread his arms, pointed his fingers at his enemies, and activated his negation mirror spell. The incoming magic reflected right back at the attackers, instantly taking down both lackeys. Maccabi was left standing all by himself, jaw dropped. Leon apologized to the brute, stating he would never be caught off guard again, and had no intention of showing mercy to anyone who targeted him like that. He then began channeling dark energy into his hand, and walked slowly toward Maccabi. Terrified, Maccabi couldn't comprehend what was happening, since magic was only supposed to consist of wind, water, fire, and earth. Trembling with fear, he asked Leon how someone who was supposed to be completely useless could wield such power. Leon repeated the word useless with pure disdain, unable to believe his opponent still dared to look down on him in this situation. In a panic, Maccabi reached out to cast a fireball, but Leon moved faster than the eye could follow. He grabbed the bully by the neck and blasted him with dark magic. Maccabi refused to accept losing to someone he considered a brat, but he ended up collapsing unconscious to the ground. Leon dissipated his dark energy, and Luna approached, noting how useful it was to drain someone's mana with dark magic. Leon agreed, thinking that the guy probably wouldn't bother him again, glad everything was resolved without any major issues. But suddenly, a loud boom echoed through the air and an alarm began to blare, warning students to evacuate. Over the PA system, the student council president announced that a red portal, the highest danger level, had appeared near the training grounds. Students rushed out of the buildings as Izumi Makoto directed them through the hallways, telling them to avoid combat while evacuating. She planned to start sealing the portal immediately, but a teacher blocked her path. He explained that the principal had banned any action against red portals, to prevent the academy from being held responsible if they failed. Izumiya argued back, pointing out that a similar portal had caused massive damage to the nearby residents in the past. She insisted that dealing with these exact situations was the whole reason they were at the academy in the first place, which is why she had to seal it. Meanwhile, monsters started pouring out of the rift, cornering the nearest students. One student, lacking the speed or energy to outrun a pack of wild wolves, tried to fight back with a stone arrow, but these red category monsters were way too strong to take any damage from an attack like that. The kid would have been the first victim if Izumiya hadn't rushed to his rescue. With precise shots of her ice spears, she skewered all the wolves attacking him. Izumiya asked the terrified student if he could run, and told him to go find help from the other students further away. Since the area was so close to the city, and there were still students around, Izumiya decided the only way to prevent any casualties was to defeat the dungeon boss. Watching from a distance, Leon and Luna saw her take on the monsters, and head straight into the rift. Looking thoughtful, Leon asked his guide what it took to close the portal, and she replied that they just had to defeat the boss controlling it. Hearing this, Leon suggested they head in right away. Luna warned him that while dark magic was incredibly powerful, it consumed a massive amount of mana, making this move extremely dangerous. Leon wasn't bothered. He explained to the messenger that he wasn't doing this for anyone else, but he still couldn't just ignore a threat like this. He knew from personal experience just how devastating the consequences of doing nothing could be. Luna smiled, calling Leon a truly incredible person. As they reached the entrance, he told her they should hurry, and they both jumped into the portal. Meanwhile, Izumi Yamakoto was fighting for her life against the monsters inside the fire caves. As expected from red category beasts, the fight was brutal. Just as she was reaching her limit, a flame serpent reared up behind her. Izumi realized she wouldn't have time to dodge, but right at that moment, dark magic surged, and death claws pierced right through the massive creature. Stunned by the dark energy of the defeated monster, she tried to process what had just happened. It took her a moment to realize who her savior was. Peering into the darkness of the cave, she recognized her classmate, Leon Kurabane, a guy who used to just run errands for bullies, now standing inside a red category portal after saving her life. Approaching him, Izumi asked if her eyes were playing tricks on her. Leon stepped over the dead creature's tail, and said he was just glad she wasn't hurt. She thanked him for the rescue, and asked what kind of magic he had used, demanding to know who he really was. Leon turned around, and reminded the student council president that they had bigger things to worry about. Their priority had to be closing the portal. Izumi agreed, saying they should keep moving. As they ran side by side, she stole another glance at the defeated serpent. She remembered that Leon had placed dead last in the Academy's mock battle, which had seemed like a fair grade for him at the time. How was he capable of using such powerful magic? Deciding not to get distracted, she kept running with him deeper into the dungeon. Soon the two were surrounded by monsters on all sides. Without hesitating, Izumi cast a spell that trapped the enemies in a massive sphere of water, dragging them all to a single point. Unable to breathe, the monsters were completely neutralized, clearing their path forward. Leon was impressed by her skill, thinking she definitely deserved her reputation as the Academy's top student. But moments later, the ground beneath them shattered in an earthquake, and a massive one-eyed stone golem rose from the rocks. The creature lunged at Leon, but he dodged the attack effortlessly. Leaping backward, he reached out his hand and activated his dark magic, casting Blind Blade. A second later, the stone giant crumbled to pieces. Izumi noticed that Leon had aimed right for the monster's weak spot, its eye, taking it down in a single hit. It wasn't just because of his unique magic. His speed and precision were insane, like a veteran warrior who'd been fighting for decades. Moments later, the two of them reached the chamber where the final boss was waiting. Kiribane asked Izumi if she was ready. Once she nodded, they stepped through the entrance to the boss room. Standing before them was the dreaded lava dragon. Even textbooks classified this creature as an extremely dangerous monster. Staring at the sheer size of the beast, Izumi froze. Kiribane snapped her back to reality, warning her to stay on her guard. He explained that the lava dragon would constantly breathe fire and use its tail for long-range sweeps. Right on cue, the monster started preparing its first attack. Opening its massive maw, it unleashed a powerful blast of plasma that melted everything in its path. Izumi managed to dodge the fire, but she didn't react in time to the tail swipe Kiribane had just warned her about. Still, she managed to escape the impact without taking any damage. Seizing the opportunity, Izumi launched an ice spear right at the lava dragon's face. However, the ice proved useless against the boss. The lava dragon's heat was so intense that it completely neutralized the elemental advantage. Even so, Izumi's attack succeeded in drawing the monster's attention, making her the perfect decoy for Kiribane to close the distance. Positioned right in front of the creature's face, Kiribane unleashed his Death Claw skill. To avoid the devastating blow, the dragon flapped its wings frantically and took to the air, trying to get away from him. Kiribane hadn't realized the dragon could still fly, so he began planning his next move. Izumi ran up to him and asked if they were just going to let it escape. Kiribane turned to her and asked if she could use any magic elements other than water. When she said yes, he asked her to try and slow the dragon down using wind magic. Izumi told him she trusted him and immediately cast her wind spell. With her hands outstretched, Izumi channeled her mana. The spell whipped up powerful air currents around the dragon, drastically cutting its flight speed. The beast roared as its movements were restricted. Just then, a system notification alerted Kiribane that the enemy's movements had been halted. Stepping forward, he activated his dark magic and cast Abyss Ruler. Instantly, the lava dragon's body was swarmed by hundreds of shadow butterflies. Kiribane waited for the perfect moment and snapped his fingers. The butterflies clinging to the monster glowed intensely as the dragon, still trapped by the wind currents, let out a massive roar. The next second, a deafening explosion went off. Izumi covered her eyes from the blinding light. When the smoke cleared, the two students saw the lava dragon lying defeated on the ground. Kiribane's assistant goddess started praising him for the fight. Smiling, Izumi mentioned she had a lot of questions, but admitted it was an incredible battle. Kiribane fist bumped her and said they only won because of her help. Shortly after, the portal vanished and they were back in the real world. Looking around, Kiribane noted that the mission was accomplished, and the damage to the area seemed minimal. Their conversation was cut short by a man's voice calling out to Izumi. Standing next to a car, a guy in a suit demanded to know why she had ignored his orders. This was Shiro Atsushi, the headmaster of the Holy Imperial Academy. An annoyed Shiro asked Izumi how she planned to explain her disobedience. This was the first time Leon Klein had ever seen the headmaster. Shiro had founded the institution, taking young mages under his wing, and making a fortune in the process. Since he ran the place, there was a chance he was connected to Shark, but Leon figured it was too early to jump to conclusions. Izumi tried to defend herself, arguing that students couldn't just stand by and ignore such danger. Shiro cut her off, saying a sense of justice was no excuse, especially when her failure could have ruined the academy's reputation. This ticked Kiribane off, and he questioned if the headmaster couldn't find better words to describe a student's courage and determination. Shiro snapped back, asking who he was to give his opinion, stating that no outsiders were allowed there. Izumi explained that Kiribane wasn't an outsider, and was the sole reason they managed to clear the red portal. The headmaster laughed in disbelief, unable to comprehend why the student council president was defending a loser who ranked dead last in the academy. Shiro headed toward his car, saying he wasn't going to listen to this nonsense anymore. Izumi had tried to stop him to prove her point, but the headmaster turned and told her to deal with the consequences of her actions instead of playing around with him. Before getting in his car and driving off, the man caught Leon's interest, and he now had to find out if Shiro had any ties to Shark. Later that night, he returned to his dorm with Luna. The goddess's messenger complained about how insufferable the headmaster was, noting that everyone at the academy seemed to treat Kiribane like garbage. While Luna rambled, she noticed Leon looking through the diary of Kiribane, the student whose body he had taken over after losing consciousness. From the notes, it was obvious the boy had been suffering from severe nervous exhaustion. Leon read a few passages aloud, closed the notebook, walked to the window, and looked up at the moon. That night, he promised himself he would prove everyone wrong. Meanwhile, in his office, Shiro Atsushi smoked a cigar while looking over some documents. To him, Kiribane's record proved he was a total loser, and it irritated the headmaster that a worthless bug dared to talk back to him, probably not realizing he'd be expelled very soon anyway. In the shower, Izumiya was reflecting on the day's events. She couldn't understand how someone with such incredible skills could have the lowest rank. There had to be a mistake, because there was no way Kiribane could have gained such unmatched power in so little time. The next day, in the academy's main building, a guy blocked Kiribane's path and asked for a moment of his time. This was Narushiyu, the student council vice president. Naruse said he heard rumors that Kiribane came out of the portal yesterday with the president, and accused him of using the chaos to steal materials from the dungeon, despite Izumiya claiming the boy had helped her. But knowing Leah's personality, everyone assumed she was just trying to cover for Kiribane. People like him had no right to bother the president. Hearing this, Leon was starting to get annoyed by the four-eyed guy's arrogance. Leon tried to explain he only wanted to clear the portal. However, those words didn't mean much coming from someone who had never won a single training battle during his entire time at the academy. Just as Naruse scoffed that not even a child would believe such a lie, President Leah interrupted them, calling out to Kiribane and saying she was looking for him, wanting to avoid making a scene. The vice president warned Kiribane to stay out of their way from now on. Before leaving, Naruse reminded the president that she had an appointment after lunch. Once he was gone, Leah asked Kiribane if the vice president had said anything to him. Kiribane told her not to worry about it, and asked why she was looking for him in the first place. Turns out, the principal had asked Leah to bring him to his office. The moment they walked in, Principal Shiro didn't even look up before immediately ordering the academy's worst student to pack his bags and leave. Leah tried to protest, but Shiro cut her off sharply, saying the reason was simple. The principal tossed a file over to Kiribane and started listing his failures, pointing out his rock-bottom magic scores and the fact that he hadn't won a single training battle since enrolling. He claimed a student with zero talent for magic had no future, and that expelling him was actually an act of mercy. Hearing the principal's accusations, Kiribane reached down and picked up the file. If staying at the academy was the goal, he suggested a simple solution. He would just have to prove his strength. Since a series of training battles was scheduled for that month, Kiribane proposed a deal. If he won every single match, his expulsion would be cancelled. Shiro was furious at first, but as he glanced at the paperwork on his desk, he suddenly calmed down. One of the matches was scheduled for the 31st, and Kiribane's opponent was none other than Neris. Pretending to show mercy, the principal accepted the reckless proposal, completely confident that there was no way Kiribane could ever defeat the vice president. But for Leon, this deal was the perfect first step to clear Kiribane's name and start his hunt for the man named Shark. Later that night back at the dorms, Leon pulled out a sheet of paper and showed it to Luna. The two of them stared thoughtfully at the document. When they had left the principal's office earlier, Leah had tried to convince him to back down. She argued it wasn't fair for him to be expelled just for having bad grades. She knew Kiribane's real skills were unquestionable, but she warned him that Neris was incredibly powerful. Kiribane just thanked Leah for worrying about him. To him, if winning a few battles was all it took to cancel the expulsion, it was a small price to pay. Besides, Kiribane had already decided he was going to make everyone regret doubting him. After hearing the whole story, Luna admitted she still didn't understand why Leon was so desperate to stay at the academy. He explained his reasons were simple. He needed to track down Shark. Staying at the academy was his best bet to keep an eye on things from the inside. Plus, Leon was almost certain Principal Shido and Shark were connected somehow. He even speculated that Shark might be the one possessing the principal, but Luna shut that theory down, warning him that was impossible. She would easily sense if someone from another dimension was nearby. Leon agreed, noting that the two of them had completely different vibes. Seeing how upset Luna suddenly looked, Leon asked what was wrong. She confessed she felt terrible that the goddess had placed such a heavy burden on his shoulders, but Leon quickly reassured her, explaining that he was actually grateful for the opportunity. He told her that if the goddess herself was giving him a chance to fight Belfar, a threat to the entire world, then he was all in. There was absolutely no need for her to worry. His words comforted Luna, completely convincing her that the goddess had made the right choice by picking him. Leon wrapped up the conversation, suggesting they get some rest before the training battles the next day. Luna enthusiastically agreed, declaring she was going to beat the principal tomorrow and wipe that arrogant smirk right off his face. The next day, the training battles kicked off. Seeing that his opponent was the weakest student in the academy, a brown-haired kid laughed, eager for an easy win. The crowd cheered him on, yelling for him to humiliate his opponent and drag the loser through the mud. Kiribane didn't say a word, only letting out a heavy sigh as soon as the signal to fight was given. The brown-haired kid lunged forward, telling Kiribane to get ready for a trip to the infirmary. With a wave of his hand, he launched a blast of wind magic. But a second later, Kiribane vanished right before everyone's eyes. Surprised, his opponent figured his spell had just blasted him away. Suddenly, Kiribane appeared right behind him. Using earth magic, he fired a blast of stone straight into the student's chest, catching him completely off guard. The winner of the first match was decided in less than a minute. The worst student in the Imperial Academy had just defeated the 23rd ranked fighter. No one in the crowd could keep up with Kiribane's movements, and the speed of his spell was unbelievable. He didn't even need to use dark magic. From that moment on, Kiribane's strength started drawing everyone's attention. In his next few fights, he kept crushing his opponents without facing any real resistance. The referee announced Kiribane's victory just seconds after each match started. Principal Shido was furious, unable to believe that the student who used to lose every single fight was now on an undefeated streak. Shido wondered if the kid was cheating somehow, or if he really was the one who sealed the red portal. While he was lost in thought, there was a knock on his office door. The student council vice president, Naruz, walked in and asked if the principal had summoned him. Shido reminded Naruz that his final opponent in the training battles would be Kiribane. The principal ordered the vice president to fight with everything he had, saying they couldn't let that kid walk away undefeated. Naruz told the principal not to worry, claiming there was no way he'd lose to someone like him. Naruz had been watching Kiribane's fights closely, and noticed he only used earth magic. Even though the other students had lost, the vice president was confident that trick wouldn't work on him. Shortly after, Kiribane's second-to-last match ended in another victory, leaving the crowd baffled by how much he had changed in just a month. The student council president, Leah, handed Kiribane a water bottle and mentioned that everything was going according to plan. Now, only one opponent stood between them and winning their bet. However, this could be his toughest match yet. After a few fights between other students, it was time for the final battle. Before the match started, Naruz commented that his opponent had gotten incredibly lucky today, but unfortunately for him, his luck was about to run out. Kiribane replied that it wasn't about luck. He was winning because he had to win, and he was confident he would beat the vice president tonight. His words infuriated Naruz. Taking his combat stance, he said he wanted to see Kiribane talk like that when he was face down on the ground. The stands were packed, with everyone anxious to see the second-ranked student crush the academy's former worst loser. The start signal sounded. Something about his opponent was making Naruz uneasy. He wondered how someone from the very bottom could suddenly awaken like this. He even considered if Kiribane had been hiding his skills from the start just to grab attention with a winning streak, though that seemed ridiculous. Determined to show his real strength, the vice president activated high-level wind magic. He conjured a magic bow, drew a lightning arrow, and fired. The projectile split into three and shot forward at insane speeds, but Kiribane instantly activated earth magic and raised a stone wall, blocking the attack. All three arrows slammed into the barrier and vanished. Naruz couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't understand how Kiribane had blocked a lightning attack, even with his high-level wind magic active. To the vice president, even if Kiribane had better stats, their difference in raw power should have made up for it. Still, he couldn't panic. Based on what he'd seen, Kiribane should only be able to use earth magic. So, Naruse decided to try another approach. Switching to the earth element, he summoned several massive boulders right over his opponent's head and rained them down. But to everyone's absolute shock, Kiribane revealed a brand new power. Using wind magic, he blew Naruse's attack away with a massive gust of air. The rocks crashed harmlessly to the ground, leaving Naruse completely stunned that his opponent could also use wind magic. The crowd went wild. Nobody expected the former worst student to counter the vice president's spell so easily. On top of that, he had already used 2 different elements in this fight. A massive deal, since very few mages can master more than one element due to the intense training required. Seeing this, Izumiya realized just how mysterious Kiribane really was. Sneering, Naruse muttered that Kiribane shouldn't have been able to use anything other than earth magic. Kiribane just asked the vice president if he wasn't looking down on everyone a bit too much, pointing out that jumping to conclusions is exactly what arrogant, careless people do. Sure, the vice president might be skilled, but with that childish attitude, he still has a long way to go. Pissed off by Kiribane's arrogant words, Naruse snapped back, telling him not to get ahead of himself. He said he only respects people with actual talent, and in this entire academy, President Izumiya is the only one he looks up to. Naruse had always pushed himself to get as close to the president as possible, wanting to be worthy of standing by her side and reaching the absolute peak of the magic world. That's why he couldn't stand the thought of someone he looked down on being on his level. With his motivations made clear, the vice president, who actually specializes in water magic, prepped another offensive spell. He channeled an incredible amount of mana and fired it at his opponent, freezing Kiribane's feet solid. Then, he cast a spell called Sidhis, shooting a torrent of water into the sky that froze instantly. Wind magic wouldn't be able to block this, and even an earth wall would just freeze over. Naruse's victory seemed like a done deal, until a flame suddenly flickered from inside the ice. An overwhelming amount of mana began to surge around Kiribane. A second later, Kiribane swung his arm and used his flames to completely shatter the vice president's spell. Mastering 3 elements at this level was practically impossible for a student, but Kiribane wasn't done yet. Going beyond 3 elements, he conjured several sharp ice blades right above Naruse's head. With a clench of his fist, the projectiles shot forward. As Naruse scrambled to defend himself, he couldn't believe his opponent had actually mastered every single element. Naruse couldn't hold out. The ice blades pierced right through his defenses, dealing heavy damage and bringing him to his knees, completely drained. Kiribane walked up to him and offered a piece of advice, telling him that if he really wants to reach the peak of magic, he needs to keep looking forward and stay focused on his goals, even if there are still things far beyond his reach. Those words struck a chord, reminding Naruse of why he fought and what his ambitions were in the first place. Terrified, he wondered who on earth he was even fighting. Looking up at Kiribane, he suddenly lunged for one last attack, but his strength completely failed him, sealing the victory for Kiribane. That same night at the Imperial Academy, the director slammed his hand on his desk, crumbling Kiribane's file. He couldn't believe a kid who was supposed to be completely useless actually possessed all 4 elements, but then he remembered Izumiya's words, confirming they only managed to close the gate because of him. Furious, the director grabbed his phone and dialed a number, muttering that he would find a way to get Kiribane expelled no matter what. However, by winning his fight against the vice president, Kiribane had already managed to convince Shido to call off the expulsion. Now the only question was what Leon should do next. He wanted to question the director directly, but the man was away on a business trip. In other words, Leon's immediate task was to keep blocking the gates. He figured that doing this might lure out those connected to Belfar, drawing them out of hiding on his own terms. Now he just had to figure out exactly who he was targeting. The next day, Leon headed to the academy for classes. After the next lesson, a strange man walked into the classroom, instantly catching Leon's attention. Writing his name on the board, Hashiba Kasuk announced he was taking over the class, explaining that while it was sudden, it came directly from the higher-ups. The new teacher was incredibly handsome, immediately catching the attention of all the girls, who started whispering about his looks. Leon, however, sensed something was off and tensed up. At lunchtime, students were still gossiping about the recent training battles. Some were convinced the fights were rigged, since nobody could believe the worst student in school had so easily defeated the second highest-ranked fighter. Meanwhile, President Izumiya approached Leon, who was eating alone, and asked if she could join him. Sitting down in the empty seat, Izumiya told Leon he did an amazing job during the training battle, calling it a spectacular fight. She also wanted to thank him for what he did for Naruzi. While Naruzi was definitely frustrated after the match, Leon's words had actually gotten through to him. Izumiya also admitted she still couldn't forgive the director, calling his suspicion completely irrational. When Leon asked if Ishido Utsuki had always been this way, she revealed that the director was a former seeker, and there were recent rumors about him having some shady connections. This immediately caught Leon's attention. Their conversation was cut short when the TV in the cafeteria began broadcasting the news. The report stated that recent incidents near the Imperial Academy showed gates were appearing much more frequently. Although they had all been closed quickly so far, people needed to stay alert. The news anchor warned non-magic users to stay far away from the gates under any circumstances. Watching the broadcast, Leon remembered what Luna had told him recently. If he went beyond the gate he came from, this world could end up destroyed by monsters. There was no way he'd let Belfar have his way. Leon was just about to look into something related to this and decided to ask Izumiya for some information. A little later, after dark, Leon and the goddess's messenger were standing on a deserted city street. He had decided to go on patrol to see if another gate would open. Lately, Leon had been secretly closing every single gate that popped up in the area the moment they appeared. The fact that he was doing all this behind the scenes completely charmed Luna. As she was praising him, another gate suddenly ripped open right in front of them. It was up to Leon to clear this green category gate, and he immediately stepped inside the dungeon. This time, the dungeon turned out to be a massive, dense forest. Since visibility was terrible, Luna warned Leon to be careful as they moved forward. Leon headed in, taking down the monsters one by one. Eventually, he reached the deepest part of the dungeon. To their surprise, there was nothing there. Or at least, that's what Luna thought at first. While she was distracted, a monster lunged from behind and grabbed her by the shoulders, dragging her away. The creature opened its jaws to devour her, but the messenger started thrashing around, screaming that she wasn't food. Seeing this, Leon told Luna to hang on and raised his hand to cast a dark magic spell. A second later, shadow needles pierced the winged monster's wings. Before the creature could even react, lethal claws erupted from beneath its feet. Leon finished it off by impaling it with sharp spikes of dark magic. The monster crashed to the ground, dead, releasing the girl. Relieved that she hadn't been abandoned, Luna ran straight into Leon's arms. She was amazed by how fast he could cast spells. Leon explained that since ambushes were incredibly common in the depths of hell, he could now react to them almost instinctively. After clearing the dungeon, the two of them headed out and sealed the portal. They were lucky to wrap things up before the place could damage the surrounding area. As they were talking about their adventures, a barrage of sharp stones materialized out of nowhere in a surprise attack. Leon leaped out of the way and looked up to see who had cast the spell. That's when he spotted a mysterious silhouette on top of a nearby building. The masked man was surprised Leon had detected him and realized this hunt was going to be fun, since his target actually had some skill. Leon told Luna to go hide immediately. As soon as she was out of sight, he demanded to know who the masked man was and why he was hunting him. The assassin had no intention of answering and launched a barrage of fireballs instead. Leon dodged the attack, which impressed the assassin. The killer could summon fireballs at incredible speed and was sure Leon wouldn't be able to escape from such a bad position. However, Leon activated his dark magic. A dark rift opened up in the path of the projectiles, absorbing all of them effortlessly. The assassin had never seen that kind of magic before, but he was still determined to capture his target. But before he could make a move, deadly claws suddenly formed beneath his feet. The man managed to jump aside, but he didn't escape unscathed. Realizing his intel on Leon's powers was completely wrong, he decided to retreat immediately. Luna came out of hiding and asked Leon if he was okay. After telling her he was fine, Leon stood there for a moment, trying to make sense of what just happened. Back at the dorms, the two started guessing who could have hired the assassin. It was still too early to tell, but at least Leon would now be able to track the assassin's movements, who likely had a connection to someone at the academy. Next time, Leon planned to capture him himself and drag every piece of information out of him. The next day, Leon was back in class, but he couldn't stop thinking about their new teacher. Once class let out, that very teacher, Hashiba Kasuk, walked up to him. Kasuk brought up the rumors about Leon Solo clearing a red gate. Leon just shrugged it off, saying the academy director didn't believe it actually happened. But Kasuk smiled and said he believed him. Kasuk mentioned he'd watched Leon fight in the training battle the other day. He placed a hand on Leon's shoulder, saying he was excited to see how the boy would prove himself in the future, before walking away with a smirk. The following day, Leon headed back to the gate. Nearby, the masked assassin was watching him, burning for revenge after getting injured the day before. He admitted he'd let his guard down last time, but he wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. Plus, now that he had a powerful artifact with him, he was sure he wouldn't lose. A few minutes later, Leon stepped out of the gate. The assassin was shocked that a mere student could clear a green gate so fast, but decided it didn't matter. He grabbed his communicator and ordered his men to move in. Instantly, several hooded men surrounded Leon, aiming all their power right at him. A massive explosion of mana ripped through the street. Watching from the top of a building, the assassin laughed, thinking the job was done. He radioed his men to check the body just to be sure. But a second later, panicked screams echoed through the communicator. Rushing to the edge of the roof, the assassin looked down to see his men scattered on the ground. He couldn't believe anyone could survive an explosion that massive. Still, he took comfort in thinking Leon had no idea where his rooftop perch was. But right then, Leon's voice echoed from directly behind him. Terrified, the assassin spun around and demanded to know how Leon had found him. Leon explained that his partner, Luna, had scanned for anything suspicious the moment they left the gate. Then, with a quick flick of his hand, Leon activated his wind magic. A sharp gust ripped the mask off the stranger, revealing his true identity. It was Professor Hashiba Kasuk. Leon had already figured it out. When Kasuk asked how, Leon pointed out that the professor had used different hands to hold the chalk during his lectures today, compared to the day before. He figured Kasuk was forced to switch because of the injury his right arm took during their first fight. On top of that, Leon had dug into Kasuk's past and found out he was a former hunter who specialized in the exact homing fire magic used the previous day. Leon demanded to know why he was being targeted. Kasuk burst into a loud laugh, praising Leon for putting the pieces together. But he warned Leon that he was still just a student. He unleashed a massive firestorm, cornering Leon with absolutely no way out. Kasuk boasted that he had slaughtered thousands of monsters with that very magic, and told Leon he'd die the same way before launching the flames right at him. But Leon didn't even flinch. He casually remarked that there was nothing about magic he didn't know, brushed off the attack, and decided to show the professor how fire magic is actually used. Leon unleashed a spell called Crimson Flame. Watching the fire rush toward him, Kasuk was terrified, recognizing it as the absolute highest tier of fire magic. But Leon corrected him, saying this spell was actually just mid-tier. Furious, Kasuk screamed at him to stop looking down on him. Activating his dark magic, Leon walked slowly toward Kasuk. He scoffed that the 1,000 monsters Kasuk bragged about killing were nothing compared to the 100,000 he had personally defeated. He grabbed Kasuk by the throat and began draining his mana. Kasuk screamed in agony as his energy was sucked away, trying to move but his body wouldn't obey. Leon finally brought him down, with Luna cheering him on for the victory. But Leon wasn't done yet. Keeping his grip on Hashiba, he demanded to know if Shido was the one who ordered the hit on him. When Hashiba stayed silent, Leon took it as a yes. Hashiba started screaming, claiming he was just following orders, and that his instructions were to eliminate anyone trying to close the gates. Hearing this, everything clicked for Leon. Anyone closing the gates was a target. This was solid proof that Shido was actually working with Belfar. Still, Leon was confused, knowing Shido had literally founded an academy to train mages. Leon had his doubts, but he was absolutely sure Shido was Belfar's lackey. He knew the authorities wouldn't do anything to Shido if he just handed Hashiba over. So, he decided to keep him locked up, hoping to bait Shido into making a sloppy move. Leon was fully prepared to expose everyone connected to the Demon King. Meanwhile, Shido was meeting with his boss. Walking into the house, a shiver ran down his spine as he bowed to the man, who was casually sipping a drink in his chair. The boss demanded a quick report, and after listening, praised Shido for a job well done. Shido then brought up the issue that was bothering him. He explained how a student had suddenly started showing insane results, almost as if he'd become a completely different person, and added that Leon could actually use 4 elements. Shido tried to reassure his boss, saying he'd already sent an assassin to handle the kid. However, the boss was highly intrigued. He stood up to look out at the sky as a terrifying dark aura filled the room. The boss believed the student could end up becoming a massive problem. Shido insisted his assassin would take care of it, but the boss doubted the mission would succeed, pointing out that Hashiba hadn't checked in. Denying the possibility, Shido pulled out his phone to call his subordinate, but got no answer. Refusing to accept that Hashiba had been defeated, he wondered how Leon could have possibly won that fight. Shido's boss decided their only option left was to use the students as bait. He opened a chest on his desk, took out a ring, and handed it to Shidu, telling him he was cleared to start the next phase of the experiment. Shidu was thrilled. They were finally moving on to the next stage, which was the real reason they were gathering mages in the first place. The boss muttered that things were about to get a lot more interesting, and to spice things up, he decided he'd launch the Black Gate the very next day. After that meeting, Shidu called Leon into his office and apologized for how he'd treated him before. He told Leon not to mind his sudden change of heart, claiming he had put his personal feelings aside. Shidu then brought up the recent spike in gate appearances, and asked Leon to team up with Makoto to close them. Leon pointed out that this meant they'd be patrolling the areas where the gates had been popping up lately. He accepted the task, and Shidu said he was counting on him to do a good job. The two shook hands, but Leon knew the guy was up to something and decided to play along until he figured out his game. As they shook hands, a dark aura flared up, but Leon didn't notice it. Leaving the office, Leon called Makoto up to the roof to fill her in, making it clear they were walking straight into a trap. He explained that this was connected to what he'd asked her to investigate earlier. Leon said he wasn't sure if Shidu had figured him out yet, but the man definitely had bad intentions. Makoto argued that he should have just turned down the request, but she quickly realized they couldn't just leave the gates open. Leon calmed her down, saying he had a plan that only involved him, so he'd patrol alone. But Makoto refused to let him go by himself, saying she couldn't just sit back and watch her country get destroyed. Seeing that she wasn't going to back down, Leon had no choice but to let her tag along. He agreed they would head out at night and asked Makoto if she was scared of the monsters inside the gates. Makoto admitted she was, but explained she couldn't stand by while dark forces threatened the world, which was one of the main reasons she became a mage. Leon realized she was acting exactly like he did in his past life when he set out to defeat the Demon King. Makoto added that she was confident that as long as she was with Leon, she'd have the strength to fight. Suddenly, a black gate tore open right behind Makoto and sucked her inside. Leon stood in shock before the black gate, feeling the sinister pressure radiating from it, but he didn't hesitate for a second. Saving Makoto was his absolute priority. Meanwhile, Shidu was watching everything from his office, laughing like a maniac. He gloated that his bait had worked perfectly. The boss of this black gate was an incredibly powerful, cunning monster that fed on mages with high mana, and Shidu was thrilled to see how Leon would try to beat it. Just as Leon was about to jump into the portal, Luna stopped him, pointing out how extremely dangerous the gate felt. Luna was deeply worried about the evil waiting for them inside. Leon understood her concern. Since the gate had appeared right where they were patrolling, he was convinced this was Shidu's doing. He wondered if his rival's plan was to trap both him and Makoto inside. Before he could think further, monsters began pouring out of the portal. Leon wanted to go in, but he couldn't just ignore the creatures spawning in front of him. Suddenly, magic arrows flew out of nowhere, taking the monsters down. Leon looked around and saw Naruzi. Naruzi demanded to know what was going on, and Leon quickly explained that Makoto was trapped inside the black gate. Naruzi was shocked. As more monsters surged forward, Leon said they needed to fight, but Naruzi told him to go inside the portal while he handled the beasts on the outside. Leon thanked him and rushed in. Naruzi admitted to himself that Leon was their best shot at rescuing Makoto, and began firing his magic arrows at the beasts. As soon as Leon entered the gate, he ran straight into a lava dragon, a boss-level monster. Without missing a beat, he activated his dark energy, conjured a blade, and sliced the creature down in a single strike. More dragons appeared right after, and he began wiping them out with his magic, all while Shidu watched the screen from his office. A bit later, Leon reached the deepest part of the gate. Luna noticed he looked exhausted, and asked if he was okay, but he reassured her, saying he had survived much worse battles and this was nothing. Luna agreed, knowing their only goal right now was to rescue Makoto. Meanwhile, Makoto finally woke up, and realized she was being held captive by a monster that was actively draining her mana. She worried about the destruction the creature would cause if it reached the outside world, and wondered if Leon had managed to escape, but she quickly realized he wasn't the type to run away from a fight. Inspired by that thought, Makoto refused to give up. She tried to use her fire magic to break free, but she couldn't summon enough power because her mana was being drained. Just then, the monster opened its mouth to devour her, but Leon arrived just in time. When she saw him, she smiled, knowing he would come for her. Meanwhile, Shidu contacted his boss to report that the portal had been successfully opened. He was completely confident that this would be the end of Leon, and that his rival would end up as monster food. Luna warned Leon that the tentacles holding Makoto were draining her mana. Leon admitted he had never seen a monster like this before. Not even in his past world did anything like this exist. Facing this unknown threat, he braced himself to attack. The monster lashed out with a tentacle, but Leon managed to dodge. Noticing the sheer destruction the impact left on the ground, he realized a direct hit would be fatal, meaning he had to be extremely careful. Leon decided to focus on the main body, and used his dark magic to slice through the tentacles. Luna thought the fight was over, but Leon corrected her, saying they were far from done because the main body was still completely intact. Right then, the monster slammed its tentacles into the ground, and one of them erupted right behind Leon. Thanks to Luna's quick warning, Leon managed to dodge just in time, escaping with only a minor cut. Makoto screamed in worry, but he told her he was fine. Leon was struggling to read the creature's movements since he had never fought anything like it before. When another tentacle tried to catch him off guard, Leon sliced it with his dark blade and kept moving forward, rapidly hacking away at the monster's limbs. Luna was really worried because Leon had been fighting non-stop since entering the gate, and she figured he had to be running completely out of mana. To make matters worse, Makoto was slowly dying in the monster's grasp. Luna knew that rushing the main body was incredibly risky, since those tentacles could easily swat him down. But Leon just took a deep breath and charged forward at blinding speed. He activated his dark magic reaper to pin down the tentacles and reach the main body before the creature could even react. Then, he cast Blind Blade, unleashing multiple energy beams that struck the monster right in the eyes. Facing the beast head-on, Leon unleashed Lord Strength, piercing and completely destroying its body. With the monster defeated, Makoto began to freefall, but Leon caught her just before she hit the ground. She slowly opened her eyes, and when he asked if she was okay, she told him she was just happy he came to save her. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Shido was in absolute shock. A notification had just popped up showing that the Black Gate was gone. Sweating from panic and disbelief, he refused to believe Leon had actually defeated the dungeon boss. Shido reached into his pocket to grab the ring his boss had given him, planning to take his rival down himself. Suddenly, Leon appeared right behind him with a furious look on his face, pissed off that Shido had dragged Makoto into this mess. Shido froze in fear. Leon warned him that he had no intention of sparing someone so evil, explaining that he had placed a spiral-level magic mark on Shido's body, allowing him to teleport directly to his location. Shido was stunned, having never seen magic capable of doing something like that. Leon immediately began the interrogation, asking if Shido was the one behind the Black Gate's summoning. He warned Shido not to lie, pointing out that the equipment right behind him was obviously used to open the gate. Furious, Leon demanded to know why he would do something like this, especially since he was the one who founded the Mage Academy. Shido let out a wicked smirk, and revealed that the academy was actually created as a feeding ground for the gate monsters. According to him, the students were raised specifically for that purpose. He then confessed that he did indeed materialize the gate, hoping to use the chaos to rise to power. Leon could tell he was telling the truth, but he was completely disgusted that Shido would try to kill Makoto out of pure selfishness. Leon called him trash, but Shido didn't care, and claimed he was ready to kill Leon right then and there. Shido launched a barrage of fireballs, but Leon easily blocked them with his dark magic. Shido was shocked to see his magical attack simply vanish the moment it touched his opponent. Leon mocked him, daring him to use his absolute best move. Shido was baffled. Leon looked exhausted, yet he was still standing there trash-talking. He prepped another massive flame attack, confident nothing would be left of his rival. Shido unleashed the flames, but to his utter disbelief, Leon absorbed the entire attack. Then, Leon used his dark magic to reflect the power right back at him. Shido was blasted by his own spell, screaming in agony. Shido couldn't believe what he was seeing. He wondered if this was really the same student he used to look down on as useless trash, realizing he was about to lose. In a desperate final attempt, he tried to summon another gate inside the room, but Leon's dark magic crushed his hand before he could activate the spell. Leon noticed the rings on Shido's fingers, and realized that's how he was materializing the gates. Sensing Leon's sheer rage, Shido was about to beg for mercy, when a brutal punch to the face sent him flying across the room. Leon grabbed him, reminding him he was just garbage who didn't deserve forgiveness. He promised to make Shido suffer so much pain that he'd be forced to confess who he was working for. Shido was just about to spit out his boss's name when, suddenly, something triggered inside his mind, knocking him out cold on the spot. Leon realized Shido's boss was incredibly clever, treating the loss of his ally as nothing more than a fallen pawn. The hidden enemy wasn't happy about Leon's victory, but promised himself that this wouldn't be their last fight. Later on, Leon told Makoto that Shido had woken up with zero memories, but had already been handed over to the authorities. Even so, Leon was concerned because new gates were still popping up elsewhere, meaning there were other people out there capable of materializing them. He was also certain that Shark was involved somehow. Luna warned him that they couldn't let their guard down, and Leon Klein resolved to find Shark, no matter where he was hiding. That night, Leon woke up from a nightmare, reliving the trauma of his past life, and the whole reason he wanted revenge. Opening his eyes, he saw Luna still fast asleep beside him. He knew Shido was locked up, but there was no way he acted alone. Shark had to be close by. A little while later, the school got a brand new principal, and Leon was instantly curious to find out who it was. Makoto mentioned that the new principal actually wanted to meet him. When Leon asked if she'd already spoken with the guy, Makoto confirmed she had, explaining she was only able to get in touch because of her family's connections. The new principal was Janice Coleman, an instructor from an elite mage organization who had treated her well since she was a kid. Hearing Makoto talk about him, Leon quickly realized Janice was highly skilled and famous for clearing tons of gates. Luna was excited to meet him in person, and Leon hoped he'd be a competent, reliable mage. Still, Leon couldn't help but think he shouldn't trust a guy named Janice. The second they walked into his office, Janice excitedly ran right up to them. Seeing him so hyper, Leon whispered to Makoto, asking if the principal was always like this. She confirmed he was. Janice then asked Leon if he'd ever heard of him. Leon said yes, explaining he knew the principal came from an elite mage organization. That organization was called Saber, and they were responsible for handling the gates appearing across the world, acting as humanity's protectors. Janice explained that academy students would have a chance to join Saber after graduation, but made sure to point out that only the absolute best were accepted. He then started bragging about how he was a powerful mage with a high-ranking position in the organization, which left Leon pretty amused by his sheer confidence. Makoto cut Janice off, reminding him that they had something important to discuss with Leon. Right then, Janice's attitude completely changed. His smile vanished and he got dead serious. He reminded Leon that the world was in constant danger because of the gates. Leon said he was well aware, and Janice explained that Saber was currently short-staffed, which was why they didn't have any active agents in the region. Things were under control until the Black Gate showed up. That event caught Saber's attention, and was the exact reason Janice was sent there. The organization realized the Black Gate was way more dangerous than Red Gates, posing a massive threat of thousands of casualties if the monsters inside ever broke out. Janice stressed how crucial it was to monitor these gates, but admitted Saber simply didn't have the manpower. Since they were so short-handed, he asked for Makoto and Leon's help, having heard reports that the two of them were the ones who cleared the Black Gate. Knowing how difficult it would be for even Saber's elite mages to close a Black Gate, Janice didn't hesitate to ask for their support after seeing what they were capable of. Leon shook the principal's hand, promising he'd be ready to help. Makoto tried to chime in, and explained that Leon had actually cleared the gate all by himself. But suddenly, the alarm blared, signaling that a red gate had just opened near the school. Janice smiled, seeing this as the perfect chance to test their skills. Leon and Makoto headed straight to the scene. Leon told Janice to hold the line and handle any monsters that managed to escape the gate, and the principal agreed. Just as the two were about to head inside, Maurice showed up and asked to join them. Leon accepted the extra help to boost their numbers, and they all stepped through the gate. Once inside, Leon understood why Janice wanted to see them work as a team. It reminded him of how things worked in his past world, where you had to fight alongside others to build trust. For Leon, he had no problem fighting beside Makoto or anyone else, as long as it got the job done. As they pushed deeper into the gate, they quickly ran into a horde of monsters. Makoto stepped up to take on the wolf-like beasts. Using her water magic, she conjured ice attacks and impaled the enemies. One of the monsters slipped past her and lunged at Makoto, but Leon intercepted and took it out. While he was helping her, a golem almost caught Leon off guard. He shouted at Maruzi to aim for the creature's eyes. Maruzi fired off his arrows, piercing the golem's eyes and bringing it down. Next, the group ran into a swarm of bat-like monsters. Because there were so many of them, Leon decided to handle it himself, unleashing his dark magic to wipe them all out in one shot. After clearing the area, Makoto and Maruzi apologized for being too slow, but Leon assured them they did a great job. Maruzi takes the opportunity to ask Leon about his dark magic, since he'd never seen anything like it before. He asks Makoto if she had ever witnessed it, and she says yes, but admits she's also curious about it. Leon explains that what he used is called dark attribute magic. He says he can't go into too much detail right now because they still need to clear the gate, but he explains that this type of magic has unique properties and effects that the other 4 attributes don't. Maruzi asks if Leon was holding back during their mock battle, and Leon points out that, obviously, he couldn't just use that kind of massive power in front of everyone. He then tells them it's time to find and defeat the gate's boss. Makoto can read Leon like a book. From everything she's seen, she knows he must have trained insanely hard to get this strong. She wonders if there's a reason he pushed himself so far to the limit, feeling like there's some deeper motive behind it, and wonders if she'll ever find out what it is. Finally, the group reaches the boss room and finds a crystal dragon. Leon remembers that in his past life, this dragon had an incredibly tough defense that made the fight a nightmare. This time, though, he is back up. He tells Makoto and Maruzi to give him cover by attacking the beast's legs from behind while he takes it head-on. The moment Leon charges at the monster, Makoto, Maruzi, and Ajin freeze the creature in place with ice magic. This gives Leon the perfect opening to draw his weapon and decapitate the dragon in a single strike. With the gate cleared, the group heads back outside and finds Janice waiting for them. Janice admits he's proud of the group for exceeding his expectations. Leon realizes the instructor must have taken care of the monsters that managed to escape outside the gate. Janice says it was no trouble at all, considering surface monsters are incredibly easy compared to the ones the group just defeated. Leon tells Janice he needs to share something with him, since their ultimate goal is to close the gates together. He reveals that he has decided to form a clan with his friends, and asks for permission for them to be the ones responsible for handling the gates. Janice is surprised to hear they want to start a clan of just 3 people, with the sole purpose of closing gates. He mentions that students have never formed a clan before, but since the trio is so strong, he'll make an exception. Impressed by their initiative, Janice tells Leon they are free to do as they please. The instructor also assures them they don't need to worry about classes. Since he has total authority, he'll just convert their clan's achievements into school grades. Leon thanks Janice for the help. With that, the trio officially forms their clan. Later on, Leon meets up with Maruzi and Makoto, and shows them a map detailing the locations of all the gates he has already closed. He asks them to look over the map to see if they can spot any patterns. Maruzi is absolutely shocked and impressed when he sees just how many gates Leon cleared all on his own. Right then, Makoto and Maruzi realize Leon was the mystery person behind all those cleared gates no one could explain. Maruzi admits that what Leon did is incredible, but extremely risky, and Luna agrees with him. Makoto then reminds everyone that they're in the same clan now. Neris tells Leon he doesn't have to do everything by himself anymore, and Leon agrees. Neris then explains that the monsters coming out of the gates aren't the only problem. When a gate is open, magical essence leaks out. While this essence is beneficial for mages, it's highly toxic to ordinary people. Makoto adds that if this energy overflows into the country, there will be massive casualties. To stop this from happening, Leon suggests they set up regular patrols. That same night, the trio heads out for their first round and spots some Saber Guild mages. Leon remembers Jean mentioning they'd bring in reinforcements to keep a close eye on the area. Suddenly, an alert goes off. A gate is opened 5 kilometers to the southwest. The Saber mages rush to the scene, and Leon's team follows right behind them. When they get to the city, they see the monsters have already caused total chaos. Right in front of them, a creature is about to devour a child, but Leon slices it down using his dark magic. The mother and child thank Leon for saving them. Moments later, the Saber mages catch up. Leon suggests they handle the cleanup outside while his team gets ready to raid the gate. Before going in, they decide to talk to the Saber mages. The mages reveal they already sent a group inside, but lost contact with them. Neris asks if there's a rescue plan, but the mages explain there isn't. Since their priority is containing the escaped monsters and evacuating civilians, they just don't have the manpower. Hearing this, Leon announces that his team is going in. One of the mages tries to stop them, arguing they're just students, but Janice arrives right on time and orders them to let the trio pass, praising their courage in front of the other mages. Once they step through the gate, they're hit by a thick fog that ruins their visibility. Even so, the team gets ready for battle. Leon pumps everyone up, telling them to give it their all since this is their very first mission as a clan. Further in, the group finds several dead monsters, defeated by the mages who entered before them. They follow the trail, hoping to find those mages alive. Leon gets worried because he can sense the gate's boss is powerful, but he stays focused on saving everyone. Makoto is confident, and both she and Neris want to prove their worth so Leon doesn't have to carry the whole team on his back. Meanwhile, the Saber mages are struggling hard against the gate boss. They try fire and water attacks, but the monster blocks all of their magic. 2 party members end up injured while protecting their weakest ally. The monster gets ready to deliver the final blow, but Leon and his team show up just in time. Leon cuts off the creature's tentacles with his magic, saving the mages, who are shocked to see their saviors are just students. Makoto analyzes the monster and realizes it's a slime type, meaning its weakness should be its core. She and Nearest charge into attack, but the creature tricks them and manages to trap them. Just as the monster is about to kill them, Leon uses his dark magic to free his teammates. Seeing that the creature is even more dangerous than it looks, Leon takes the lead. Powered up by his magic, he slices the monster in half with a single blow. The saber mages cheer in awe, and with the boss defeated, the gate closes and everyone makes it back safely. The saber mages thank Leon and his clan for the help. They admit that without them, the subjugation team would have been wiped out. Leon tells them there's no need to thank him, they just did what had to be done. The leader of the subjugation team takes the chance to apologize for underestimating them, admitting he thought they were just kids. That night, Luna is incredibly proud of the clan's recognition, praising Leon for such a massive achievement. The Saber Mages were so grateful for the rescue that they even invited Leon to join them as soon as he graduates from the academy. Just then, there's a knock on the door. When Leon opens it, he's surprised to see Makoto so late at night. Worried, he asks if everything is okay. With a bright red face, Makoto asks if they can talk for a moment. Makoto asks Leon to train her in magic, admitting she can't stand being so weak compared to everyone else and needs help. Leon understands her determination. He remembers when she was attacked and couldn't do anything, feeling completely helpless. He tells her that was unavoidable, but she doesn't need someone to just comfort her. He agrees to help, on one condition: he's the one in charge of the training. Makoto agrees, thanking him deeply. Thinking to himself, Leon smiles, noting that being so direct is just like her. At the training grounds, Leon says they should start right away, and Makoto agrees. Just then, Nira shows up and asks to join the training too. Makoto teases him, asking if he also wants to learn from the protagonist, which makes him blush. Watching from a distance, Leon realizes Narusi is just as eager to learn as Makoto. Nearest points out that as a clan, they can't afford to fall behind Leon, and from now on they do everything together. Leon reflects that both of them already have near-perfect control over their magic and know the basics. However, he tells them they need to fix their bad habits, leaving them both confused. Using Makoto as an example, Leon explains that she has a habit of rushing ahead of everyone else. She realizes he's right, and Leon adds that she hyper-focuses, which creates blind spots. As for Nearest, Leon tells him he needs to start predicting his moves sooner. Confused, Nearest asks him what exactly he means by that. Leon explains that the most important thing is always preparing for the worst, bringing up how Makoto handled the monster earlier. He points out that Narusi should have anticipated that the monsters would target him the moment he ran after her. Nearest agrees, admitting he panicked during the chaos of the battle. Leon explains that while school training has barely any distractions, real combat has way too many variables to keep track of, meaning he has to adapt on the fly. He adds that Nearest needs to widen his field of vision to get used to real fights, and that he'll need some practice to get there. Right then, a wolf appears in front of them. Leon explains it's just one of his creations, and completely harmless, telling Nearest to practice dodging it while casting spells. The two get into position and start training. After a long session, Leon decides it's time for a break. Nearest agrees, and Leon tells Makoto she should rest too. Nearest guesses that Makoto's extreme dedication comes from her role as president, which confuses Leon. Nearest explains that the Azumiya family is highly prestigious, and has produced several elite mages. On top of that, her family is currently fighting on the front lines of the gates, and one of them will be leading the vanguard in the upcoming war. That's why she carries such a massive sense of responsibility. Remembering when Makoto said she wanted to fight those who threaten the world, Leon finally understands her motivation. Nearest adds that with her personality, the burden is even heavier, which is why he decided to get stronger. He apologizes for what happened in their last battle, but warns Leon that he still has no intention of losing to him. Luna teases that Nearest is just terrible at being honest with himself, and Leon agrees. Telling them both it's fine, Leon calls them back to continue training. Meanwhile, the principal watches everything from his office window. A month later, the group charges at a massive monster as it swings its club. Leon warns them to focus on the main body, just as the orc smashes the ground where they were standing. Dropping down from above, Leon swings his scythe and slices the creature's arms clean off. Seeing the limbs fall, Nearest looks back as he moves forward, but the monster catches everyone off guard by regenerating and instantly regrowing its arm. The beast lunges directly at them, but they dodge. Mid-air, Both of them cast their magic and fire straight at the monster, which stands frozen. The blast hits, and the monster collapses to the ground as everyone celebrates the victory. Watching from a distance, a man smiles and notes that Leon is achieving great things. He reflects that no matter the era, the world always calls out for a savior. Looking out over a garden, the man contemplates that his experiment is almost complete, muttering that he can't wait to finally meet Leon. Outside a building, people are handing out newspapers with the latest headlines. Inside, a red-haired student talks about the latest dungeon accomplishments. His friend adds that the president and vice president of the committee have formed a club. He explains that the rumors about Saber's evolution are spreading fast, making them quite famous among a group of mages. Right after, the red-haired boy notices that Leon is also in the news. His friend teases him, reminding him of the time Leon completely thrashed him, which embarrasses the red-haired boy. Thinking back, he admits he still doesn't understand how Leon is so strong. His friend points out that the class presidents are training with him too, suggesting that might be the secret. With a sigh, the red-haired boy remarks that Leon is on a completely different level now. His friend then tells him to look over at the cafeteria, where they spot Leon with his group. In the cafeteria, Makoto mentions that they're drawing a lot of attention, and Neris explains it's because of their recent achievements. A group of girls shyly approaches Leon. One of them thanks him, leaving him confused, and explains that her family lived right next to where a portal opened. Thanks to him, they all made it out safely. She bows deeply in gratitude, catching Leon off guard. The moment triggers memories of Leon's past life. He remembers villagers thanking him for his heroic deeds, the gratitude he received from empire leaders and commoners alike, and children looking up to him as a role model. He realizes that even in a different world, nothing has changed. In the background, other students comment that he's basically a hero now. The red-haired boy remarks that even the worst students can make a difference, while the school bully watches from a corner and walks away grumbling. Later, the group finally manages to slip away from the crowd. Leon asks the others why the principal called them in, but nobody knows and Luna is incredibly curious. When they enter the office, the principal welcomes them by praising their incredible work. He turns to Naruse and Makoto, highlighting how surprising their growth has been. The two reply that it's all thanks to Leon's training. Curious, Makoto asks the principal what this meeting is about. The principal tells them to just follow him, explaining they're going to pay a quick visit to the Saber branch. Once inside the car, the teenagers ask if they're really going to meet the branch's famous vice leader. The principal confirms it, explaining the man specifically asked to meet them. Leon asks Naruse if he knows the vice leader, and Naruse nods. Naruse describes him, calling him Reiji, a young prodigy considered one of Saber's absolute best. Makoto adds that he was the first student council president and was completely undefeated in mock battles. She mentions that after joining Saber, Reiji became unstoppable in the dungeons, clearing countless gates. Makoto wonders why someone like him would want to see them, but the principal just tells her to relax, saying she'll find out soon enough. Leon remains lost in thought for the rest of the ride. When they arrive at Saber's 7th branch, the principal leads the group to Reiji's office, where he's waiting for them on the couch. He welcomes them, saying they must be the students from the rumors. He starts listing some of their recent achievements, explaining that he felt like he just had to meet them in person after hearing about what they did. Reiji walks up to Leon and asks if he isn't happy about it. Looking at his attitude, both Leon and Luna instantly realize this guy is incredibly arrogant. Reiji reaches out to shake Leon's hand, saying it's good to meet him, but the moment Leon takes his hand, he's hit by a terrifying aura. Leon is left wondering what the hell that was while his friends call out to him. Reiji notices that Leon felt his aura and thinks to himself that the kid really is interesting. He tells Leon not to get so defensive, claiming he only released his energy to give him a little scare. Reiji admits his original plan was just to say hello and send them on their way, but he's changed his mind. Now, he wants to have a quick match with Leon first. Down in the training grounds, Reiji remarks that fighting without an audience is kind of boring, but it'll have to do. He adds that with no one else around, Leon can use more of his actual power. Leon just watches him silently, on high alert. Just before heading to the arena, Leon had asked why they were even fighting. Reiji simply replied that he's obsessed with combat, and since Leon has such exceptional talent, he wanted to see what the kid is made of. Then he asked if Leon was up for the challenge or not. Back in the present, Leon thinks about how impressive Reiji must be to stand out in a massive group like Saber. He looks back at the moment he felt that intense intimidation from his opponent. Watching from the sidelines, the principal comments that Reiji hasn't changed a bit, While Makoto notes that he seems really eager to fight, the principal figures Reiji is probably just testing Leon to see what he can bring to Saber's combat force. The blonde man adds that while he believes in Leon, this is going to be a tough fight. Makoto disagrees, saying that with Leon, anything is possible. Summoning a fireball, Reiji announces they'll start with a test of endurance and hurls the attack. Leon figures that since it's just basic fire magic, it'll be easy to block. But Reiji warns him it won't be that simple, and a massive explosion erupts right where Leon is standing. His friends watch in shock, wondering what's happening as Leon gets caught in the blast. Suddenly, Reiji senses something and barely dodges a counterattack. He's surprised to see Leon standing right in front of him, completely unscathed. Reiji realizes Leon used an ice barrier to block the explosion and create a smokescreen as a distraction. This only makes Reiji even more excited to have such a skilled opponent. Makoto is amazed by Leon's reaction time, but she wonders how a simple fireball could cause that much damage. The principal explains that Reiji launched a second attack immediately after the fireball, which triggered the explosion. Watching Reiji's movements, Neris wonders just how massive the level gap is between the two of them. Reiji announces it's time for round 2, summoning tornadoes that tear up the ground as they rush toward Leon. Leon realizes these spells are even stronger than the ones used by the legendary mages from his past life. Moving fast, he leaps over the tornadoes. High in the air, Leon prepares to strike. A massive wave begins to form next to Reiji, who realizes how fast the attack is and quickly dodges the water strike. Leon expected this and immediately sets up his next move, calculating that his opponent won't be able to dodge while in midair. Leon fires a barrage of projectiles, but Reiji manages to dodge them all, using the debris as platforms. Leon is shocked. Reiji keeps rushing forward, jumping across the flying rocks and conjures a magic weapon to attack. Leon does the same, and their weapons clash, forcing both of them back. Leon lands on the ground, waiting for his opponent's next move. Reiji praises Leon's performance so far, but asks if he's hiding a trump card or using some kind of secret magic. Ready to go all out, Reiji tells Leon not to hold back, and Leon agrees to up the ante. A purple flame appears in Leon's hand as he promises to show his real power. With a smug smile, Reiji asks if it was really worth hiding his true strength. Leon fires back that he wasn't trying to hide it, he just thought he could win without it. Watching closely, Reiji realizes this must be the mysterious attribute mentioned in the report. Thrilled, he admits he's never seen anything like it. In the stands, the director wonders if this is Leon's actual power, but Makoto tells him to pay closer attention because things are about to get interesting. Back in the fight, Reiji braces himself and tells Leon to give it everything he's got. He charges into attack, prompting Leon to activate his secret skill. The clash completely shatters Reiji's ability, leaving him in utter disbelief. Backing away, Reiji stares at his sword, shocked to see it was sliced clean in half even though it was reinforced with second-class metal. He looks at Leon, wondering if this is the true power of the scythes. Leon notices his opponent's reaction, impressed that even against a brand new technique, Reiji didn't lose his focus or his intensity. Reiji praises Leon again and asks if he has any more spells like that up his sleeve. Leon plays dumb, saying maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Reiji lets out a sarcastic laugh, noting that Leon is definitely different from the other kids. Determined, Reiji announces it's time for the final round and summons another tornado, unleashing his full potential. Up in the stands, Makoto points out that he's using 2 elements at the same time, which is incredibly rare. Luna adds that mastering just one attribute is hard enough, so mastering 2 must be on a whole different level. Ready for the strike, Reiji dares Leon to try and block it. He chants the spell, infusing the tornadoes with flames that completely engulf Leon. Realizing the scale of the attack, Leon sees it's impossible to deflect or fully read the flames. He drives his scythe into the ground, gathers a massive amount of dark energy in his hands, and fires it directly at Reiji's attack. Leon plunges his hands into the fire and forces the flames apart, clearing a path without taking a single scratch. The crowd is stunned, and Reiji can't believe his eyes, wondering how Leon managed to cancel out a dual-element spell using nothing but dark magic. Reiji realizes it would take insane precision to pull that off, concluding that this level of control is way beyond a normal student. Still, he's thrilled to know a mage like this actually exists. Reiji approaches Leon to end the fight. He admits he's impressed Leon managed to block his dual-element magic, which is no easy feat. Leon asks if the test is over. Reiji says no, but points out the building would collapse if they kept going. He warns Leon not to think he's won, but acknowledges his skills and says they'll settle this in the future. Meanwhile, Luna brags about Leon's overwhelming victory. Reiji offers the young man a job, but Leon just smirks. Makoto walks over and praises Leon's performance. Reiji gets an idea and asks if the three of them have formed a clan. When they confirm they have, he decides to seize the opportunity and give them a job right away. Later, at another location, the group discusses the distribution of gates managed by the Saber Group. Leon notes to himself that Saber definitely has access to way more data than he does. Makoto asks if Reiji just wants them to patrol the designated areas, but he quickly shakes his head. He points to a section on the board and asks if they notice anything unusual. The group says no, pointing out there are no gates there. Reiji explains that's exactly the point. Gates have appeared everywhere except for that specific region. A bit nervous, Neris thinks it over and agrees. Leon gets straight to the point, asking if there's something special about that place, and Reiji confirms there is. He explains he already sent some of his men there, but they found absolutely nothing. Because of that, he asks if the group is interested in investigating the area themselves. They exchange glances for a moment before Makoto and Neris nod in agreement. With their approval, Leon makes the final call and accepts the job. At sunset, Leon and his friends arrive at the location, ready to start their investigation. Makoto mentions that nothing seems out of the ordinary and suggests asking the locals if they've noticed anything unusual. They begin their search, questioning people about any strange occurrences, but come up empty-handed. Suddenly, Luna mutters something, catching Leon's attention. She explains that she felt a strange presence, which instantly gets him curious. She points toward an alleyway right ahead, claiming that's where it's coming from. A moment later, as they step into the alley, Makoto and Neris start grilling Leon about why they're going this way. He just tells them he felt something weird around here, while double-checking the details with Luna. Sensing some kind of supernatural energy, Leon decides it's better to be safe than sorry and use his powers. He activates his dark energy to see if it reveals a path. Sure enough, the group is shocked to find a massive staircase. Luna wonders if this is where the supernatural energy is hiding. Leon turns to the others and asks if they're coming with him, and Makoto replies that they don't really have a choice. They start heading down. On the way, Neris and Makoto wonder what could possibly be at the bottom. Just then, Leon spots the end of the stairs and is shocked to see a massive field of crimson flowers. Luna asks him what kind of flowers they are, but he has absolutely no clue. Walking a bit further, Leon spots the exact same devices Shida used to control the portals. Confused, Neris asks if Shida wasn't locked up by Saber, and Makoto confirms he was. This leaves Leon wondering if someone else could have gotten their hands on that device. Suddenly, an intruder alert blares, triggering the security system. A robot spawns right in front of them, catching everyone off guard. Makoto warns them that whatever this thing is, they're the targets, and tells everyone to get ready to fight. The robot fires a massive energy beam, but the group dodges just in time. The machine gears up for another attack, trying to slash them with its claws, but misses. Leon orders his friends to flank it and focus on its weak spots. Makoto charges up her ice magic while Neris preps a lightning spell. Leon waits for the perfect opening to unleash his dark magic. They launch a combined attack, hitting the robot from all sides, and its metallic body crashes to the ground. With the threat taken care of, Leon says he's ready to destroy the device, but before he can, a mysterious voice cuts him off, telling him not to ruin their garden. Shocked, Leon spins around, only to realize his surroundings have completely changed. Confused, he wonders what just happened, while Luna looks at him with worry. Then, the owner of the voice appears, saying they've finally met. Leon demands to know who this person is. Luna warns Leon that this person's energy feels like an otherworldly force. Leon can't believe his ears, and suddenly, memories of his past life start rushing back. With pure rage in his eyes, he finally recognizes the man standing before him. It's Shark. Shark says it's good to finally meet him. Leon asks how he knows his name, and the man explains he got a report from Leon's old master, Shidu. Hearing this, Leon realizes Shidu really is connected to Shark. Luna calls out his name in worry, but Leon quickly calms her down. He locks his eyes on Shark, the man who stole the most precious thing in the world from him. He had finally found his arch-nemesis, the one who took the life of the child he considered family, the one he wanted revenge on more than anything. Leon realizes Shark still doesn't know what's hidden inside him, but at the same time, he doesn't fully grasp the extent of his enemy's power either. While Luna prays for his safety, Shark mentions he was surprised to hear a mere student manage to defeat a guardian. Leon asks about the red flowers and what Shark plans to do with the gate manifestation device. Shark replies that he has no reason to answer, calling it all a waste of time. Then he unleashes a suppressing energy at Leon. The young man wonders what kind of attribute this is, and Shark reveals its light energy, a holy magic he can use all on his own. Leon recalls that the enemy didn't have this power in the previous world, and wonders if Belfar had something to do with it. To Leon, the idea of someone like Shark using light magic is an absolute joke, and he just clenches his fist in response. Right after, Shark summons a sword of light out of nowhere, asking if they should get started. Leon notes that this isn't normal magic by current attribute standards. He decides to summon his own magic, shaping it into a scythe to show he isn't the only one who can use special attributes. Shark is intrigued by Leon's unique attribute. He mentions the reports only spoke of a mage who could use 4 elements, but it seems the kid can do much more. Swinging his sword, the villain remarks that things just got interesting, but Leon doesn't waste time replying, and charges at full speed. Shark lunges with a thrust, but Leon's afterimage is already past him. Appearing right behind the enemy, Leon swings down for a vertical slash. Shark quickly backs away and praises his opponent's movements. Leon wonders what he's planning by putting so much distance between them, but Shark suddenly closes the gap at high speed, aiming his sword right at Leon's eye. The attack triggers a massive explosion of light. Leon dodges by just tilting his head, but a cut on his cheek begins to bleed. Shark praises the kid's reflexes. Leon realizes that taking a direct hit from that power would be fatal. The villain comments on how well Leon fights, adding that his strength would normally bring hope to anyone trying to save the world. He then confesses that he absolutely hates heroes, and that putting an end to people like him is what brings him the most joy. Leon is shocked by the statement. Furious, he drops his scythe and tells the enemy not to joke around. He then conjures flames in both hands, determined not to repeat his past mistakes. Shark wonders why he threw away his weapon, but decides he just needs to strike first. At that exact moment, Leon uses his dark energy attribute to manifest dozens of chains, skewering Shark's body at lightning speed. The villain is left in shock, unable to comprehend how this happened. Leon instantly appears right in front of him, scythe back in hand, announcing the end of the fight. He slashes at Shark, but the blade passes right through the enemy's body, which dissolves into pure light. Laughing, Shark reveals that this body was nothing but an illusion. They will cross paths again soon. When they do, Shark promises to pay him back and face Leon in his real body. Leon stares up as the adrenaline fades. Suddenly, he wakes up to his friends calling his name. Nearest reassures him that he's okay, while Akuto demands to know what the hell happened. Leon tells them he'll explain later, and that they need to get out of there. He thinks to himself that Shark better watch his back, because next time, they are definitely settling the score. A few days after the fight, Leon reflects on how they couldn't find any trace of Shark. Luna adds that it would have been amazing to find his real body, but they couldn't even manage that. However, she cheerfully points out that they'll have plenty of chances from now on, and Leon agrees. She also brings up how incredibly strong their opponent was, but expresses absolute faith that Leon's power is superior, and that he will definitely win. This leaves the young man deep in thought. Luna asks him what's wrong, and Leon begins to explain. He obtained his dark power in the abyss, and she had previously told him it was the power of the goddess. He questions why a goddess's power wouldn't be light-based, making him doubt the true origin of his ability. Luna quickly understands his confusion, and explains that dark magic particles filled the abyss. In that place, those particles could easily disintegrate a body, or make someone lose total control of themselves. Hearing this, Leon remembers feeling exactly that way back then. Luna explains that the magic he wields is simply the particles his body absorbed, which eventually blossomed. Since black particles can only be found in the abyss, Leon realizes that's why the goddess used them. Luna also mentions that she could only send simple messages to him at the time, making Leon realize that those unreadable characters he used to see were actually from her. She goes on to say that despite everything, he managed to turn that magic into his own strength. Since Leon was the one who survived the underworld filled with dark magic particles, he became the transcendent of the underworld. Luna reveals she was watching him the entire time, watching him lose the children he considered family, and fight a million monsters all by himself. She acknowledges how much he suffered, but explains that until the goddess opened the gate, she couldn't do anything but watch. Declaring herself the goddess's angel, Luna tells Leon she wants him to save this world, but says her deepest wish is simply to see his own wish come true. Lost in thought, Leon says he understands, but reveals that for now, he is only borrowing this body, and still has things to take care of. Thanking Luna, he promises he will defeat Shark no matter what. Smiling, she says, of course she'll help him. Just then, Leon's phone rings and both of them are shocked to see who is calling. At the reception, Leon calls out to Reiji, who points out that Leon seems to be in a good mood. As he sits down, Leon asks what's up, and Reiji says he just wanted to tell him something. When a curious Leon asks what it is, Reiji hesitates. After a moment, Reiji's phone rings. He tells Leon to give him a second, explaining that his subordinates are calling. He picks up and asks what's going on, and his team reveals that a blue-grade portal has just appeared. Annoyed, Reiji tells them they should be able to handle it themselves without his help, but his staff member explains that the portal appeared in a very specific location. When they arrive at the scene, Leon is shocked to see a portal right in the middle of the city. A man approaches them, and Reiji starts to ask for a status report, but suddenly clutches his chest in pain. The director bends down to inspect the ground and notices something strange. With Reiji realizing it must be the effect of that flower, Leon asks, "What the hell is going on?" And Reiji explains that this was exactly what he wanted to talk to him about earlier. Reiji pulls out a vial, and Leon asks if that's the sample they recovered from the underground facility. Reiji confirms it is, explaining that Saber just finished analyzing it, and discovered the flower can actually drain mana from mages. Makoto is shocked to hear this, and Reiji admits he didn't even know something like this existed. Neris points out someone who has collapsed nearby, and Reiji adds that it's likely the flower's doing. However, he notes that the effect doesn't seem to work on people whose mana is above a certain threshold, though at this rate, evacuating ordinary civilians is going to be incredibly difficult. Leon looks at his companions, and they all share the exact same thought. As they start to head out, Reiji calls after them, but Leon tells him he's leaving the outside world in his hands, saying it's better to have someone they trust managing things out here. With a sigh, Reiji concedes, telling Leon to make sure he closes that gate for good, which everyone agrees to. Inside the dungeon, the group treks through the snow. Looking up, they realize this place looks nothing like a blue-grade portal. Thinking back to what the flower does, Leon figures Shark must have something to do with this. Clenching his fist, Leon thinks to himself that no matter what the guy is planning, he's going to stop him. He tells the group it's time to move, and they set off. A while later, Neris is struggling against the harsh blizzard and falls to the ground, while Leon lands a magic attack right on a monster's chest. Exhausted, Neris admits he didn't expect things to get this bad. At first, everything was going smoothly after they entered the gate, with the group easily pushing forward and clearing out enemies, until they ran into the boss. Analyzing their opponent, Neris realized it seemed like a standard blue-grade boss. Its attacks were powerful, but it moved slowly. Because of that, Leon decided to throw it off balance to take it down. Right then, the boss lunged forward, slamming its fist into the ground with massive force. Leon fires a fire arrow straight into the monster's nose, quickly following up with another to its leg, throwing it off balance. Neris charges in with an electric bow in hand, while Makoto flanks the enemy from the other side. Descending from above, Leon declares it's time to finish this, and lands a direct hit right on the monster's head. But suddenly, the creature's chest glows, releasing a blinding light that blows them all back, forcing Leon to anchor himself with his weapon. Makoto runs over to Leon and asks if he's okay, but then Leon notices something. Flowers have spread all over the area, and the monster seems to be absorbing energy from them. Seeing this, Neris wonders what the boss is trying to do, just as the creature clasps its hands together and fires tracing beams of light. One of the beams strikes the group, knocking them off their feet. On the ground, Neris realizes a frost giant shouldn't be able to use attacks like that, wondering how this is even possible. Luna asks Leon if he's alright, and he says he is. Turning around, Leon asks how the others are holding up, and Makoto replies that they managed to withstand the hit. Looking ahead, Leon thinks to himself that this kind of power definitely doesn't belong to a blue-grade enemy, wondering if the flower is behind the boost. He realizes that if another attack like that comes, there's no guarantee they'll survive it. Determined, he declares they need to aim for the core and unleashes his dark magic, Ruinous Pressure. A surprised Makoto cheers, thinking they got it, but Neris cuts her off, pointing out the core is still completely intact. Leon realizes the monster's defense has shot up as well, meaning they need a much stronger spell. Luna suggests he try the spell he mentioned earlier. Noticing the look on Leon's face, Makoto asks if he has a plan. He replies that he has a spell in mind, but he's going to need some time to charge up his mana. Makoto offers to buy some time, saying they can still move. Neris tells Leon they're counting on him for the final blow, and Leon says he's on it. Charging at the monster, they declare it's go time. The golem greets them with a heavy strike, while Leon tries to concentrate on summoning two contrasting fires. The others realize what he's up to. Right then, the boss prepares to unleash that same devastating attack from before, but Makoto and Neris declare they won't let it. Just as the monster readies its mysterious attack, Leon activates his fusion magic. Leon creates a swirling vortex of magic and launches it straight at the boss. Watching the attack, the others realize it's a fusion of darkness and fire, the exact same technique used by Reiji, the vice branch leader. The impact is massive, completely obliterating the golem. Watching Leon land on the remains of the monster, his teammates can't help but think he really is on a whole different level. While Luna celebrates the victory, Leon reflects that they somehow managed to pull through. Despite the win, he's seriously worried, wondering what would happen if this red flower phenomenon is spreading to other gates as well. Meanwhile, in another location, a mysterious man comments that even the monsters buffed by the flower were defeated. Smiling in front of a ritual, he decides it's time to move to the final phase, the birth of the Demon King, Belfar. A few days after the battle, Leon and his team keep fighting non-stop against gate bosses. Word quickly spreads that the red flower doesn't just absorb mana, it also buffs the monsters. This discovery shocks the entire world, triggering mass evacuations. The students are also forced to leave the area, with Principal Janice advising them to move to another district. Over at the Saber branch, Reiji leads a fleet of mages. He declares they can't just sit around and watch, while even students are out there fighting, ordering the army to move out immediately. Under Reiji's command, Saber's forces team up with Leon to handle the situation. After clearing yet another gate, Leon and his team celebrate their success, knowing Saber's help was a total lifesaver. Leon reflects that clearing gates has gotten way harder since the Crimson Flower showed up. Luna points out that Shark is definitely behind all of this, and Leon agrees. Makoto then asks how long this exhausting routine is going to last, and Neris admits it's getting hard to keep up. Leon stays quiet, thinking about Shark's promise to settle the score with him, wondering what the enemy is plotting next. Later that evening, Leon notices some unusual activity. He spots projectiles clashing and several students unleashing their powers in a training session. Leon wonders why so many students are gathered there since they were supposed to evacuate. Just then, Principal Janice spots Leon's group in the crowd. He mentions he read the report and heard Leon's team took down a powerful enemy earlier today. Leon brushes off the compliment and asks the principal about the students. Janice explains that they volunteered to fight, inspired by Leon himself. Instead of running away, they begged to learn how to fight in a real battle, and the principal couldn't turn them down. As the students continue their intense training under Leon's satisfied gaze, Neris reflects on their decision to step onto the battlefield. Makoto comments that they can't complain, since more hands on deck will help them out. She then points out that the real reason everyone is so motivated is Leon. She highlights how he used to be the lowest ranked student in the academy and is now absolutely shining, which serves as an inspiration to everyone, admitting he even inspired her. Suddenly, Neris notices something odd, and everyone turns their attention to the training field. They are shocked to see Mikabe training intensely alongside the other students. Luna and Leon are the most surprised of all. On the field, a classmate tells Mikabe not to overdo it, but he tells him to shut up. Mikabe declares that this isn't enough and that he refuses to lose to Leon like this. He then tells his friend to hurry up so they can move on to the next exercise. Neris points out that Mikabe is just another person Leon has influenced, which makes Leon feel pretty proud. Thinking back to the past owner of his body, Leon thinks that if Kuroba had awakened, he'd also be proud of everything Leon has achieved in this world. Suddenly, a strange purple energy floods the entire training ground, catching Leon completely off guard. Neris asks what that energy is, while the students and even the headmaster look on, totally confused and terrified. Luna points something out to Leon, shocking him. Crimson flowers are blooming rapidly, completely taking over the training ground. Then, several portals open up and tons of monsters start pouring out. Leon immediately realizes this could only be the work of one person. Up on a building, a man watches the chaos unfold. It's Shark, who mutters that it's finally harvest time. Down below, the students scream in terror as monsters flood out of the portals. Just then, one of the boys grabs his neck, writhes in pain and collapses. His friend asks what's wrong, and the fallen boy gasps that the red flowers are draining his mana. To make matters worse, a pack of vicious wolves closes in, leaving the boy in pure despair. Leon and his group show up just in time, easily taking down the wolves. Leon lands, asks the students if they're okay, and tells them to leave the rest to his group. Makoto points out that this whole situation is bizarre. Neris agrees, but says they still can't give up. Meanwhile, Leon examines the red flowers and the sudden outbreak of portals. Luna calls out to him, warning him that she's detected a signature nearby. It's Shark's presence. Gritting his teeth, Leon thinks to himself that it really is him. He remembers what Shido said earlier about the students being food, and wonders if the mana being absorbed by the flowers is powering something. Noticing Leon is deep in thought, Neris asks what's wrong. Leon explains that he senses the presence of the man they fought in the underground facility, and that he's likely the one behind all of this. Neris asks if he means the guy Leon fought before, and Makoto gets worried, realizing someone that dangerous is targeting the academy. Leon is certain this is all part of Shark's plan. Hearing this, Neris and Makoto tell him to leave this area to them and go on ahead. Leon tries to argue, but they just smile and say he wouldn't listen to them anyway. They ask if fighting threats around the world wasn't his goal in the first place, and then charge into battle, leaving him behind. Unleashing their magic, the two of them start tearing through the wolves. A snake tries to catch Neris off guard, but Leon, who is still there, uses his shadow magic to blast it. He comments that they're pushing themselves too hard, and Luna warns that there are still too many enemies. Suddenly, the headmaster appears and tells them not to worry. Using an advanced earth magic spell called Crushing Pressure, the headmaster completely obliterates the serpent and all the surrounding wolves. Dusting off his clothes, the headmaster declares that as long as he's standing, he won't let his students get hurt. Just then, a massive golem emerges from a portal, catching Leon by surprise. Mikabe charges the monster head-on, quickly backing off after landing a blow. Turning to Leon, Mikabe reveals he overheard their conversation, and asks if the man behind all of this is actually here. Leon tries to speak, but Mikabe stops him with a serious look, saying he knows Leon has things to say, but to just listen. Mikabe admits he underestimated Leon and, to Leon's surprise, actually apologizes. He tells Leon to get moving and end this, since Leon is the strongest one among them. To wrap things up, the headmaster adds that Reiji will arrive with reinforcements soon, so Leon doesn't need to worry about this place. Leon smiles, clenches his fist, and heads off. He tells them he gets the message and runs up the stairs. Reaching the top of the building, Leon finally spots Shark and calls out his name in anger. The blonde man smiles, saying he figured Leon would show up soon. Getting straight to the point, Leon asks if he's behind everything and what his goal is. Shark replies that it's simple. It's all for the harvest. He asks if Leon really doesn't know what the red flowers do, explaining that they are absorbing mana to resurrect the Demon King. The revelation shocks Leon. Shark continues, declaring that once the Demon King is revived, he will grant him ultimate power, as it's all part of the ritual. At that moment, Leon realizes Shark really is connected to Belfar. Shark explains that he conducted countless experiments and preparations to pull this off, but there was always an annoying anomaly interfering, which he now finally understands. Confused by what the man is getting at, Leon wonders who this guy really is. Shark then declares that he knows exactly who Leon is, asking if he's actually from another world. Addressing him by his true name, Leon Klein, the blonde man says he's thrilled to see the look of shock on his face. Leon asks how long he's known. Shark reveals he felt something was off ever since he got Shido's report, finding it weird that a weak student suddenly had such a massive awakening. He adds that their recent battle confirmed his suspicions, because Leon's magic felt exactly like the presence he sensed back in the cave. Furious, Leon accuses him of trying to take over the other world and demands to know what he's doing here. Shark just scoffs, asking if that even matters. Noting how much Leon seems to hate him, Shark says they should get this started, asking if Leon wants him to send the other students to hell first. Silent and grim, Leon draws his scythe and says he's ready. Shark declares that this time, he's going to show Leon what hell really looks like. He laughs, calling Leon feisty, but warns him not to get frustrated when he realizes he can't win. Leon leaps into the air and strikes down right on Shark's magic circle. Shark admits the pressure is impressive, but says he's seen this trick before and guarantees it won't work on him. He then fires a golden beam, which Leon struggles to block. Shark asks him how that felt, boasting that this power is on a completely different level compared to when he was using a clone. Shark fires another beam, explaining that this is his light attribute magic. The blast sends Leon flying, forcing him to drop his weapons and cough up blood. Luna asks if he's okay, while Leon wonders what's up with that magic circle. Overhearing him, Shark explains it's an absolute barrier, a perfect defense that blocks all magic and tells Leon to die a miserable death. Leon raises his hand, refusing to let that happen, and shoots chains at him, but the chains are instantly blocked by the barrier, shocking Leon. Shark tells him his efforts are useless and fires another photon. Leon tries to defend himself with his mirror of rejection, but the spell pierces right through, leaving him stunned. The attack completely wipes out the area in front of Shark. When the smoke clears, Leon is somehow still standing. Shark smirks, noticing that Leon barely managed to avoid a direct hit to a vital organ. He concludes that not even Leon's magic could block a beam like that. As Leon collapses, completely exhausted, he scrambles for his next move. Preparing another spell, Shark comments that Leon won't be able to dodge this time. Realizing the danger, Luna panics. She hates that she's just watching from the sidelines again and decides she has to do something. Just as Shark smiles and says it's time to end this, Luna rushes in and grabs his arm. Leon is shocked to see her put herself in danger. Annoyed, Shark tells her to stay out of his way and flings her aside, sending her rolling across the ground. Leon watches in horror as his companion hits the dirt. Shark asks if she's his partner, but says it doesn't matter anyway. Shark's eyes glow, radiating a massive amount of energy. He declares he'll bury them all together. Leon knows that if this next hit lands, it's over, not just for him, but for Luna and everyone else. He asks himself if he's really going to lose everything again, even in this world, and resolves not to give up. Dragging himself up, Leon realizes he has one last option, even if it's incredibly risky. Seeing his resolve, Shark asks if he's really going to die protecting that kid, mocking him for being so predictable. He declares it's the end for Leon, and fires another laser, but Leon stands his ground and takes the blast head-on. Shark smiles, thinking he's won, but his face quickly falls when he sees Leon still standing. Sensing the energy, Shark is baffled to see Leon channeling light attribute magic, wondering how that's even possible. Luna notices something even more shocking. She realizes Leon has fused his dark power with the light attribute, leaving her completely stunned. She remembers all the times Leon used his dark magic to absorb mana from his opponents, but absorbing this much energy is on a whole different level. She wonders just how much insane precision it takes to pull off a stunt like that. Emerging from the smoke, Leon tells Shark that his gamble paid off and warns him to get ready. Shark tells him not to get cocky, confident that his barrier is still up and impossible to penetrate. But out of nowhere, the barrier is sliced clean in half with a single strike. In a complete panic, Shark wonders how Leon managed to do that. Leon explains that since they both use the light attribute, Shark's barrier is completely useless against him. As the man struggles to get back into position, Leon warns him to get ready, because it's time to pay his debt. Shark bursts out laughing, mocking Leon by saying that, as expected of a hero, he managed to save the day again and exceed expectations. However, pointing to the sea of flowers next to them, Shark claims that Leon still can't defeat him in his current state. Seeing this, Leon realizes the buffing effect the flowers give to monsters also applies to Shark. The man boasts that this is the true power of a Belfar king. Leon deduces that Shark is using the power of Belfar Sama, which Shark proudly confirms. He reveals he was recognized by the king and princess of his old world, and because of that, he had to eliminate them. Hearing this, Leon remembers the people of his old world and mourns their deaths. Shark goes on, mentioning how those two believed in Leon so much that they claimed he was still alive even after his supposed death. Because of their faith, Shark became a suspect and was forced to spill their blood. Right after that, Belfar's voice spoke in Shark's mind, promising him eternal life if he helped with his resurrection. With that promise, the traitor concluded that this was the very reason he came to this world so rich in magical energy. Hearing the whole story, sparks begin to crackle around Leon. Clenching his fist, he demands to know how someone could commit such horrible atrocities. Shark just lets out a mocking laugh, asking if the reason isn't already obvious. He reveals his main driver was his deep, burning hatred for Leon. Fuming with rage, Shark rants about how everyone always praised Leon, how he won all the glory and even the king's trust, acting like he was the god of that world. Leon's very existence completely overshadowed Shark, feeding his resentment. Because of that, he planned to eliminate everyone he hated so he could live forever, asking what else could possibly satisfy him. Furious, Leon fires back that Shark has no right to drag innocent people into a fight, born from his own ego. He says he's seen many people truly fight for the sake of their companions, and that Shark's cowardly ambition is weak compared to the devotion of the people in this world. Gearing up for battle, Leon declares he won't let the traitor take anything else from him, determined to wipe this scum out right here and now. Shark laughs like a maniac once again. The death match begins as both level their attacks. When Luna tries to step in, Leon tells her to leave everything to him, promising he will win no matter what. Shark conjures a massive fireball, announcing the start of his dynasty before launching the attack. Leon declares he won't let his rival's plans succeed and tries to swallow the incoming attack with his dark magic, triggering a massive clash that shakes the entire area. To counter it, Shark casts another skill, believing he has dispelled Leon's darkness. However, a bright purple glow erupts from the center of the fire and a precise blast pierces right through the flames, catching Shark completely off guard. Watching the scene, Luna notices that Leon is controlling his magic at a steady rhythm, but shifting the intensity with every strike, recalling his previous fights. This time, though, the attack rushing towards Shark feels completely different. Leon announces it's the end of the line for his enemy. The attack tears through the wind and hits Shark dead on, shredding his body. Even in his final moments, the traitor refuses to accept defeat. A blinding flash consumes the area, and when the dust settles, only Leon and Luna are left standing. Back at the training ground, people look up at the sky as they notice the flowers are starting to dissolve. Spotting a purple glow on the horizon, everyone realizes Leon succeeded. Back at the battlefield, the young man reverts to his original form. Luna happily called out to him. Leon muttered that it had been a long journey. He reflected on how he'd chased Shark for so long, even though he knew the precious things he lost would never come back. He had waited so long to avenge his comrades, and he realized that maybe he'd been trapped in the past this entire time. Still, tears streamed down his face as he realized that, finally, justice had been served. Deeply moved, Luna cried by his side as the two of them watched the sunset. 2 days later, they were standing in front of a beautiful ocean. Luna remarked on how lovely the place was, and Leon agreed. He remembered that back when his original world finally found peace, he and his old comrades had promised to see the ocean together. In the end, he hadn't even been able to mourn them before leaving. Luna tried to comfort him, but Leon said he was fine. If he stayed depressed for too long, those kids would just laugh at him. Looking out at the sea, he thought to himself that he only made it this far thanks to Kurobarin. Although the man still hadn't regained consciousness, Leon wondered what would happen when he finally woke up. Despite the uncertainty, all he felt was gratitude. Leon thought about all the people he'd met in this world, and how hard everyone had worked. Because of that, he felt there was still a lot left to do. He called out to Luna to tell her how things would be from now on, but she cut him off, saying she was obviously staying by his side. Leon was surprised by how fast she answered, and Luna smiled, explaining that she could always tell what he was thinking. Touched, he agreed, and said they should get going. Later, in front of the academy, the students were congratulated for overcoming the brutal crisis. Reiji gave a speech, saying the students' courageous actions deeply moved the members of Saber. He hoped this experience would give them more confidence as they strive to become great mages. Finishing his speech, Reiji moved on to the main announcement, and asked the 3 students who were notified beforehand to step forward. Makoto, Naruse, and Leon stepped out. Reiji announced that the 3 of them had been approved for early graduation, and were accepted into Saber. The other students whispered in shock about them entering an elite group straight away, something completely unheard of in their world. While Mikabe watched and appreciated how far Leon had come, the principal let out a sigh of relief, incredibly proud of his student. Next, Reiji announced he had one more update, making everyone curious about the sudden news. He revealed that the recent incident showed just how threatened they all were by the gates, and that the current system wouldn't hold up against these threats. Because of that, he had created a new elite squad called Special Operations. Some students asked if the group would only consist of Saber's strongest members. Reiji ignored the question, and explained that this was a unit focused on combat, reconnaissance, and investigations, and that he would be the captain. Then, as someone approached, Reiji turned and made one last statement, revealing that he wanted Leon in this Special Forces squad. A while later, inside the branch office, Leon admitted he was surprised he didn't get any heads up about the offer. Reiji replied that he kept it quiet specifically to surprise him. However, he warned Leon that under his command, things wouldn't be easy. Leon agreed, saying he was looking forward to working with him. Internally though, he was anxious about what lay ahead, thinking that before they started, he needed to go somewhere first. Leon stood up and asked his superior if he could get some time off before starting his duties. Reiji turned to Mikado, confused about the sudden request. She asked if this was about Leon's younger sister, and Leon confirmed it was. Reiji was surprised to hear he had a sister, and Leon explained she was hospitalized and that he visited her often. Hearing this, Neris finally realized why the guy would suddenly disappear from time to time. Leon figured visiting her was the least he could do, since the original owner of his body absolutely adored his sister. Reiji patted Leon on the chest, and told him he was cleared to go, saying he could join the squad right after. Leon thanked him deeply. Moments later, Leon's phone rang and he saw it was from the hospital. He excused himself and answered. On the other end, They told him they had finally reached the patient's guardian and urged him to get there immediately, as there was an urgent matter regarding his sister. Soon after, Leon was sprinting down a hospital hallway. Bursting into the room, he announced himself as the patient's brother, and asked what was wrong. On the bed, the girl was writhing in pain. Seeing his panic, the doctor explained that they had performed emergency procedures, but she was in the late stages of manna poisoning, meaning Meg was in critical condition. Leon is left deep in thought. He knows manna poisoning happens when magical particles come into contact with someone who has no magic aptitude, which is exactly the case with his sister. With modern medicine, it's considered incurable, and the doctor already told him to prepare for the worst. As they walk down the hallway, Luna asks Leon what he plans to do now. He tells her the obvious. He's going to save his sister no matter what it takes. His determination catches her completely off guard. Leon realizes that since the original owner of this body gave it up to him, saving the girl is his sole responsibility as her older brother. He remembers that the boy, Curabane, and his sister lost their parents to dungeon monsters. According to Curabane's diary, they had no other relatives and ended up in an orphanage. A year ago, despair took over Curabane as he watched his sister on a hospital stretcher. Powerless as the ambulance drove away, he watched her slip into a coma. That was the moment Curabane decided to become a mage to earn money for her treatment. Even though it was a crushing burden for his age, he was constantly underestimated, bullied, and beaten down, feeling every single day like his very existence was rejected. Under the constant suffering, Curabane's mind began to shatter. It all culminated the day he was blasted away by magic and fell into a massive fountain. Reaching his absolute limit, Curabane felt useless and incompetent, yet he still begged anyone, God or whoever was listening, to save his sister since he couldn't protect his only family. Right then, a light appeared, opening the massive gate for Leon. Just by reading the diary, Leon can feel all of the boy's frustration, since he was able to get revenge on Shark thanks to Curabane. It's now his turn to grant the boy's final wish. Leon goes to find Reiji. Reiji is surprised to see him and asks if he shouldn't be with his sister, but Leon tells him he has a favor to ask. He wants to know the location of a dungeon containing highly toxic monsters unique to that specific area. Reiji processes this and mentions gates and abandoned areas outside the barriers. Leon explains that the monsters in those areas must hold the key to curing his sister. Reiji says he understands the situation and mentions the treatment materials for manna poisoning. He recalls that Saber was researching monsters with promising antibodies and that there's a dungeon like that in the Shibuya district. The moment Leon hears the name of the district, he takes off instantly, ignoring Reiji's warnings not to go. Reiji stands up, frustrated by his stubbornness, while Leon runs as fast as he can. The dungeon is extremely toxic and analysis shows that anyone inside would die within 5 minutes. Reiji runs to try and catch up to Leon, thinking that Leon's strength won't make a difference against that kind of danger. In the middle of Shibuya, Leon looks up grimly, staring at the dungeon gate he's about to enter. Luna tries to warn him about the risk, but Leon just comments that the toxin concentration is indeed high. Finally understanding why Reiji tried to stop him and knowing he probably won't last 5 minutes inside. But that doesn't matter, because Leon just needs to clear the place within that time. He tells Luna to wait for him, repeating that he's going to save his sister no matter what. Luna asks how clearing this dungeon is going to save her. Leon apologizes and says the explanations will have to wait, since Meg is running out of time. He has to get the materials he needs no matter what. With that, Leon steps into the mountainous dungeon and is met with an almost apocalyptic wasteland. Luna realizes that just like he said, they probably have about 5 minutes under this level of toxicity. If they defeat the boss, the dungeon will collapse and they can leave. This means the mission is a race against the clock to take down the boss. 3 gargoyles rush straight for Leon, while 4 goblins up on the mountain aim down at him. They're trying to overwhelm him immediately, but Leon starts channeling darkness magic, unleashing a blast of energy all around him. The gargoyles are instantly sliced to pieces. Leon spins to the side and is greeted by a rain of arrows from the goblins. He easily dodges them, weaving in a zigzag pattern at high speed. Vaulting onto a small land bridge, he reaches the top of the ridge and unleashes a barrage of dark blades at his enemies. The moment they hit, the goblins are torn limb from limb. Leon drops back down to the ground. He keeps pushing forward as fast as possible, picking up his pace with just over 4 minutes left. Watching him, Luna realizes he's clearing hordes of monsters at an absolutely terrifying speed. Knowing they're running out of time, she silently prays for him to make it. Leon dodges a series of attacks from lizard monsters. He charges small spells in his hand and unleashes a massive explosion, never stopping his forward momentum. Meanwhile, a worried Reiji runs toward the portal alongside the workers. With 3.5 minutes left, a pack of snakes lunges at Leon. He channels energy into his fists and blasts them away. Back at the hotel, Meg's vitals are dropping. Leon easily tears through a few more monsters, using his scythe to propel himself forward even faster. With only 1 minute left, a giant earthworm bursts out right in front of him. Leon just stares it down, stealing his resolve as he prepares a spinning slash. Outside the Shibuya portal, Reiji calls for the medical team and orders them to get ready to move in immediately. But when he looks over, the portal vanishes, and a figure is standing there. Leon walks toward them calmly. Reiji asks if he's okay and says they're taking him in for treatment right away, but Leon pushes his hand aside, refusing. He still has one more place to go. Leon channels wine magic through his feet and leaps high into the air as Reiji yells for him to wait. Clutching the crystal to his chest, Leon knows he has to hurry and get the stone to Curabane Meg. Reiji calls him an idiot for acting so reckless, but he can't help but wonder how Leon cleared a dungeon in just 5 minutes, admitting the guy is incredible. At the hospital, the doctor demands to know where Ren was and what happened to him. Just then, Leon appears at the door. The doctor asks what he's holding as Leon places the crystal onto his sister's chest. Suddenly, streams of pink energy flow out of Meg and begin absorbing into the magic stone. The bright light forces the doctors to shield their eyes. Meg's hand, previously completely still, twitches slightly, making the doctor gasp that it's a miracle. Meg opens her eyes, looks over, and wonders if that's really her big brother. The nurse announces that her symptoms are completely gone, and she's safe. They made it in time, and Curabane Ren's wish actually came true. Meg calls out to her brother, realizing he was the one who saved her. She explains that she felt like she was sinking into absolute darkness and thought it was over, but at the very last second, she remembered him reaching out. She felt someone telling her not to give up, so she grabbed his hand. She thanks him, crying tears of joy just to be alive. Up on the hospital rooftop, Leon smiles, thinking that everything turned out right. He realizes he still has things left to do in this world, and if his strength can help someone, he'll keep fighting until the end. Luna chimes in, saying how incredible it is that he actually managed to save his sister. Leon stares at the magic stone, glad his past life experience came in handy. Mana poisoning was a completely unknown disease here, but he recognized the miasma immediately. In his previous life, this same corrupted mana had caused endless suffering. At first, people back then also thought it was an incurable mystery, but he eventually figured out a solution. Fighting the exact same parasite in his past life, Leon discovered that highly toxic monsters store their power inside a stone that absorbs the miasma. He figured if the same rules applied here, the stone could draw the poison right out. Sure enough, the stone glowed just like it did in his past life, giving him the exact result he hoped for. Leon reflects on how Curabane Ren had been carrying so much regret all this time, which was obvious from his diary. The desperate urge to protect someone precious is a feeling Leon knows all too well. He wonders if this saves Ren's soul just a little bit. Normally, he'd just tell Meg that he isn't actually Curabane Ren. Luna steps closer and calls out to him. Leon replies that he knows she's awake, and promised to tell her the whole truth when the time is right. Suddenly, Reiji's voice echoes, asking if he was up here. Leon whips around. Reiji lunges forward, grabs him by the collar, and snaps that he shouldn't have just vanished and ignored everyone, asking if he has any idea how hard it was to find him. Leon apologizes, and Reiji sighs, saying that at least everything turned out fine in the end. The professor notes that it looks like he really did save his sister, which Leon confirms. Reiji smiles, saying there's nothing better than being able to protect the people you love. Leon looks at him in surprise. Reiji goes on to say that the doctor told him about the stone Leon brought in, which apparently has the power to cure mana poisoning. He says if that's true, Leon did an unbelievable job. A few days later, the stone Leon brought back is put to use treating other patients suffering from mana poisoning. The disease, once thought to be a death sentence, is officially declared curable, sending a wave of hope across the globe. Back in his office, Reiji is marveling at how amazing this is when he suddenly hears a noise. He turns toward the door and glances out into the hallway. Curious, Reiji peeks out, but a hand suddenly shoots straight for his throat. He dodges the attack by a hair, reacting just fast enough to block the follow-up strike with his hand. The attacker is a bearded man, who chuckles and says Reiji hasn't slacked off on his training. Reiji replies that's only because of the brutal training he got from him, addressing him as Chief Shirogane Juro, the head of Saber's 17th branch district. Reiji mentions he didn't know the chief was back in Japan, and the old man replies he just landed. He says he heard a student solve the mana poisoning crisis that had been plaguing Saber for years. Jiro asks if the kid was Leon, the one working with the special unit, and Reiji confirms it. Reiji adds that he believes the boy has the exact kind of talent they need to fight the forces of the Demon King, Belfast. Jiro nods, asking if Leon knows about Belfast yet. Reiji says no, explaining he plans to tell him about humanity's sworn enemy very soon. Jiro mentions he came to see what this young mage could do, and Reiji lets him know that the special unit will officially form next week. Looking out the window, Reiji notes that things are about to get a lot busier. A while later, as they're getting ready, Luna points out that their actual work with Saber is finally about to begin, and Leon agrees. Buttoning his shirt, he says it's about time. Out in the hallway, they run into Reiji, who says he's been looking for them. Leon greets him, and Reiji comments that he's looking sharp. Leon then asks if today is the day they meet the rest of the special unit. Reiji says yes, but complains that the final 2 members are running late. Leon recalls hearing there were 2 other members joining the unit, making Luna wonder if it's who she thinks it is. Just then, the door bursts open, startling Leon. Reiji turns around, annoyed. A young guy rushes in, apologizing for being late, and introduces himself as Katsuragi Haruto, formerly of the support unit. Right behind him, a girl complains that she can't get in if he keeps blocking the doorway. Stepping inside, she politely greets everyone, introducing herself as Katsuragi Aoi. She apologizes for their tardiness, explaining her brother completely messed up the meeting time, while Haruto begs her to keep that quiet. Turning to Reiji, Leon asks if these 2 are the other members, and Reiji confirms they are indeed part of the special unit. With stars in his eyes, Haruto says it's an absolute honor to work under Reiji, and asks if they should start by shining his shoes. Grimacing, Reiji tells him to start by lowering his voice. Luna whispers that these siblings certainly have big personalities, and Leon thinks to himself that the guy is definitely a hothead. When he looks at the sister, he notices she's staring right at him. Aoi steps up and asks if he's the famous Leon everyone's talking about, mentioning she heard about his dungeon exploits as a student, and how he solved the Red Flower incident. Reiji chimed in, explaining that Aoi is a world-class magic researcher, and basically a prodigy for her age. Leon nods, and Aoi smiles, saying she has a ton of questions she wants to ask him. She gets cut off by her brother Haruto, who asks if this guy is really Leon. He says that even though he heard Leon was chosen, he still just looks like an average student. Glaring and pointing at him, Haruto warns Leon that if he gets in Reiji's way, he'll kick him out on the spot. A bit nervous, Leon tells him to look behind him. Furious about being interrupted, Aoi smacks her brother on the back and starts lecturing him, leaving Leon just laughing nervously at the scene. Reiji chimes in, saying that even though the siblings are different, he handpicked them because they have real skills, which Leon will see soon enough. In the meeting room, Reiji explains that from now on, the 4 of them will operate as the special unit. But first, he wants to explain why the squad was even created. He explains that while Saber members handle gate outbreaks, combat is usually led by the subjugation unit, while support and medical handle backup, and the investigation unit does the analysis. However, Reiji explains that after incidents like the Red Flower, high-threat gates are appearing much more often. Because of this, the special unit's official duty is to quickly clear these high-difficulty gates. But then, he reveals their actual goal, to eradicate the source of the gates itself. Haruto asks what he means by that. Reiji explains that this is highly classified information restricted to Saber's top brass, but he decides to let them in on the secret. He reveals that the gates are being caused by a being known as the Demon King, Belfar. Hearing that name, Luna gasps, and Leon wonders why it had to be him of all people, leaving both of them completely shocked. Reiji goes on to say that despite knowing Belfar is involved, they don't have much information on him, and that is exactly why the special unit exists. Their mission is to find out who he is, and ultimately, destroy him. Just as Leon is about to ask a question, alarms start blaring through the base. The siren gets everyone on their feet, announcing that a new gate has been detected, and its threat level is classified as black. Haruto says this has to be a joke, and Aoi adds that this is the highest danger level confirmed recently. Turning to Reiji, Haruto says the situation is terrible, and they need to seal the gate immediately. Leon is still curious about their previous conversation, but he knows now is not the time. Leon tells everyone to stay calm. He reveals that he's actually cleared a black gate before, and says he'll take the lead. But Reiji cuts him off and tells him to wait. He explains that while Leon might have been the leader until now, He needs to remember the real reason this team was put together. Reiji then summons a spirit wolf, shocking everyone. He declares that he's going to show them who the real leader of the squad is. With no other choice, Leon just goes along with it. Reiji throws on his coat and says it's time to head out and seal the gate, officially kicking off the special unit's very first mission.